go into all that. And that is, yeah, that's right.
It's going to feed back.
Hold on, everybody. Hold the phone. We are awaiting the great mushroom cloud of feedback explosion. Okay. In any event, she is correct. I actually thought that it might be an interesting thing if somebody were nearby and we had a film crew. Somebody could come in here and just shadow us. You wouldn't believe what happens between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. You wouldn't believe it. You go, there's no way two people can do that, is what you would say. So in any event, all is well. The wing and a prayer is working fine. We're still fine-tuning and adjusting it and figuring out all manner of ways to utilize it and to use it. But have no fear. The podcast will go on today as long as the box gets ticked. And I wrote to the the person. As a matter of fact,
If there are that many people listening to the podcast.
well, no, there's only like 2 people that caught it, but Maggie said she was happy that somebody was actually so dependent upon the podcast that they actually missed it. Well, here's another programming tip. You'll never miss anything if it's actually broadcast on the Crusade channel after 10 years by going to the homepage at crusadechannel.com. The stream, preview, and public or premium on the homepage. You can find them all right there. Any podcast that has been posted to that feed shows up on one of those little boxes that scrolls at the top or near the top of the page. The menu section on the website actually does work. I know that's you know when the menu doesn't work, when somebody's looking for something and that category is not there, then you find out all manner of hell, Hades has broken loose. But when the menu does work and all you have to do is go and click the box, that's when apparently it doesn't work. So in any event, all is well. It is another absolutely atrocious news day. Other than these elections that are happening in Virginia and New Jersey and New Tenochtitlan City, really, there's just rewind last Monday, and we'll just fast forward the date till today. I do have an observation. Why is the former black president, who is a out of the closet, virulent racist, why is he campaigning for the white chick in Virginia and against the black woman, Winsome Earl Sears? Shouldn't he be campaigning for the black woman? I thought you had to vote for. Didn't Biden say you had that you had to vote for him if you were black, and if you didn't, then you were a fake black person? Wouldn't you be a fake black person in Virginia if you didn't vote for Winsome and you voted for the white tranny mammy leftard? Well, I tell you what, Virginia, you have no idea of the hell. You live in Virginia. My advice to you is put your house up for sale and leave. Either that or figure out a way to saw off the 3 northern counties of Virginia. You have no idea of the abortifacient, transgendering, mutilating hell that is coming your way in about 2 weeks. As soon as this lunatic, this is the worst. This is a confluence of the worst of worst scenarios. You're about to elect an unstable female because she's female, emotional because she's female. Add on top of that, nearly childless single cat lady to be the governor of Virginia. What could possibly go right? That battle that they were having in some of those northern counties over whether or not boys could dress in girls' locker rooms. Guess what you're going to get, Virginia? Boys could be in girls' locker rooms. You're going to get boys in every locker room now. It's going to be in every county. I think they had probably enough of the lunatic votes in the Virginia legislature. It's hard to believe. It really is. It is difficult to believe that the once great Old Dominion has become Oregon East. It really is. The state that was formerly the first governor of Virginia was Patrick Henry, the liberty or death patriot. And look at who and what is running and happening in that state now. So in any event, the polls are a disaster for Winsome Earl Sears. Maybe they're wrong. It's possible. I don't know that they could be that wrong that consistently. Now, New Jersey is another story. It is possible that the Democrat female could lose to the Republican Italiano dude. I think Trump is going to go campaign there for him today. I don't know if that's too much, too little, too late, but it is possible. And then go to New York City, New Tenochtitlan City. New York Post headline today is "Not so fast." The latest round of polling from as late as Friday shows that Moron, the not magnificent Kami Mondani, is in a near dead heat with Andrew Cuomo, with Curtis Sliwa picking up a couple of points here, which tells me is exactly pretty much as I told you, that this thing is probably going to go to a runoff, and it's going to be Cuomo versus Moron, the not magnificent Kami Mondani, who is apparently, it's coming out now that the real agenda there is Sharia law, and that New Yorkers are going to get their full dose of it, which I know all the young people are they're reacting positively to the message of socialism because they're stupid. That's not what you're going to get. So it'll be interesting to see tomorrow, I guess Wednesday we'll know how that all turns out. So we'll continue to talk about it, report on it. If you are listening on 990 AM WGSO, our AM radio station, flagship station, welcome to football, Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and Bikini Atoll. Yesterday, the Los Angeles Rams basically had a scrimmage. It was basically a scrimmage with the local college team. The New Orleans Football Saints are quite possibly the worst NFL team right now in NFL history. They are going to struggle to beat the 1981 1-13 Aints. They're going to struggle if only we had a Buddy Diliberto around right now. They're going to struggle to beat anyone. I keep wondering how it is that the guy that was the offensive coordinator for the Super Bowl football champion Philadelphia Eagles, Kellen Moore, how does this guy become the head coach of the Aints? And they are most definitely the Aints now. And what was it that made Mickey Loomis, the general manager of the Saints, think that Moore was the guy? Maybe it was youth. Well, he's a young guy and he's full of great ideas. Really? Where? Where are they? So if you are following the NFL and you have the Saints on your schedule, brother, you get a scrimmage game. I mean, the Rams were so far superior. It literally looked, I turned it off. I didn't make it to halftime. It was so bad. It literally looked as though it was the Los Angeles Rams versus New Orleans St. Augustine High School. It was that one-sided on every facet of the game. It's embarrassing, really, to have an NFL franchise. By the way, All Saints Day was Saturday. So that means then that if you are a New Orleanian, it's 59 years. 59 years since the Saints franchise was awarded on All Saints Day in 1966. I can't remember how many exactly winning seasons there have been, but there hasn't been one in, 6 years now, I think? I think the last one was the last season that Drew played, probably. It's just a string of just cascading catastrophes. And there doesn't appear to be any end in sight. You know, it'd be one thing if you were getting better as years go by, but they seem to be getting worse. I think it has to do with ownership. I think all these things.
Being out there in a dress catching a football, that's the team.
But the kind of the attitude and stuff comes from the top down. In any event, I think that I just think that this is probably, and I've been through 59 previous seasons of tragedy. This team is as bad as Mike Ditka's 1999 Saints. Or was it 2000 when he gave the entire draft away to get Ricky? No, it was 1999. Gave the entire draft away to get Ricky Williams coming out of Texas. And that team was just horrible. It was awful. So if you're Cleveland, the only other football franchise I can think of that is as moribund and awful and terrible as the New Orleans Football Saints is the Cleveland Browns. We're consistently as bad as we are. So if you have us on the schedule, make sure, especially if it's a home game, make sure you go, because it'll be a hell of a wonderful day for you. You're practically guaranteed a win. You might even be guaranteed a blowout. And let the champagne flow. So you may just go put that on the calendar, check your calendar, and mark it now. Yes, it is that bad. I have a question. Why are the Christians in Nigeria more important than the former Christians in Palestine? I'm all for the President of the United States making strong proclamations about the Christians in Nigeria, who he says, and he correctly observed, that the Muslims are murdering in great numbers every single day. And we did a show with Susie Pinto from News Nation on this a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about it. We've had some news and stuff that we've talked about it over the slaughter of Christians in Nigeria. But why is it that the Christians in Nigeria and their plight is on the radar, and now we're talking about committing U.S. troops to go into Nigeria if the Nigerian government doesn't get a hold of this and stop it? Why wasn't there any similar, or was there no similar action or protest, if you will, from Trump when it came to the Christians suffering a similar fate and in similar numbers in Palestine and in Gaza at the hands of the IDF and the Israeli? You know, I talked to someone yesterday, a good friend of mine. We were talking after Mass, and he actually cornered me and basically grabbed me by the shirt. You got to tell me, what do you think about what's going on here inside the Republican Party with the Zionists? He was fired up, and I told him, I said, we got to be very careful about this, and I say this to everyone. Don't say the Israelis, because it's not all the Israelis' fault. Say the Likudist. This is the Likud party. This is Netanyahu's political party. Think of them as Israeli neocons, because that's what they are, basically. And what is it, or what is to be done about their influence in American politics, which I think is a valid and a justifiable question. You all know the story of Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene not having AIPAC representatives, lobbyists that are dedicated to them to go lobby them and call upon them because they won't take their money and what have you here. That leaves 500 and at least 433 other members of Congress that do take their money. And I don't know the answer to the question other than you have to pray harder and continue to point out that we're supposed to be America firsters. You know, and to that end, and my buddy was he was all up in arms I'm like, has it gotten worse? He goes, no, it hasn't gotten worse. It doesn't seem like. Here's to that end, an NBC News poll shows, and the poll was conducted October 26th to 29th, shows that the American people are not satisfied, that only 1/3 of Americans think that the Trump administration has delivered on its MAGA promises. We'll talk more about it when we come back.
We used to be like Joe Walsh.
I'm making records, my fans, they can't wait.
Now we just talk about making hit records. Well, parody versions of hit records.
Join the KingDude and Jim Mosier as they pick apart the greatest parody songs of all time and the hits they were based on. It's Album Autopsy, exclusively on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and podcast radio the way it should be, and doesn't disappoint your mother.
Listen up, Red, White, and Dude Nation fans. Now, if you wear one new t-shirt this spring, then make sure you pour yourself into a new Mike Church Show neon microphone t-shirt. Printed on beautiful 100% soft cotton tees, the logo's so cool. It's even more cool than burning Unburdened by What Has Been stickers. Available in sizes medium through Alvin Bragg sized 3X. Be the best dressed dude at your cigar shop or the coolest dressed gal at Junior's soccer match. Order today at shop.mikechurch.com. Hello, Crusaders. I'm Janet Huxley at the Crusade Channel News Desk with your Crusade Crucials for Monday, November 3rd, 2025. This report is brought to you by Cookin' with the KingDude Seasoning Trilogy. There's your favorite beast and butt rub, Acadiana steak seasoning, and the new Chicken Mamu, lemon pepper and herb seasoning. Available for one low price at shop.mikechurch.com. In the market report, the Dow closed up 0.09%, the S&P 0.26%, NASDAQ was up 0.61%. In National Day calendar news, it's Job Action Day. It's also another job day. It's National Housewives Day. It's National Broadcast Traffic Professionals Day, honoring those in radio and television traffic departments. The first commercial broadcast took place on KDKA Radio out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on November 2nd, 1920. It's also National Sandwich Day, and the sandwich is believed to be the namesake of John Montagu, 4th Earl of Sandwich, following the claim that he was the inventor of the sandwich. Bread and meat sustained the Lord's sandwich at the gambling table. It was said he was a very conversant gambler and did not take the time to have a meal during his long hours playing at the card table. Our quote of the day, stay quiet with God, do not spend your time in useless chatter, St. Charles Borromeo. And our saint of the day is St. Martin de Porres, who called himself a poor slave. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
While Trump continues to try and make America great again
By doing Mortal Kombat with the Clinton, Comey, and Clapper crime families.
you forgot the...
Nope, did not. And the King of Russia treason, the Obama father.
Well, we'll always be there for you with the best live coverage and commentary in media on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio
The way it should be.
That's not possible that can feed back. It's not going into the main. Not possible. I'm telling you. I'll reiterate, that's not possible. Oh, wing and a prayer. I'll get it figured out, I promise.
Well, she was an American girl.
Greetings, welcome back to Mike Church Show here on a Monday. A crusade for truth, America's morning show. This portion of the program is brought to you by crusadechannel.com/donate. There is the October the 29th donation page shows that there have been
0.0.
contributions. Next Tuesday is the 10th anniversary of the Crusade Channel. We'll be doing a big hoop-de-doo, a week-long celebration, but we'll have a big one next Tuesday, or a lamentation, depending on whose side you're on. But in order to get there, we need last week's crowdfunding to be met. So crusadechannel.com/donate. crusadechannel.com/donate. And thank you in advance. I was sitting on goose eggs. We put it up last Thursday, so that's 2 days for 0.0. But today is the day we shall break the stalemate. Are you just messing around with things over there, or something wrong?
I will let you.
Okay, all right. I'm just making sure that you're nothing has exploded over there. I want to go to this poll because I can't see that, obviously. This is an NBC News poll. This is: has the Trump administration lived up to your expectations, or has it fallen short on these issues? Now, this is manufactured news, and I don't put a lot of stock in it because it's an NBC News poll. And maybe it's measuring a trend. And here's what the trend says. So you can give one of two answers: lived up to or fallen short. The only promise, and this is why I think that this is jaded, the only expectation that they have lived up to, according to the 1,000 registered voters nationwide that they polled, is 51% say that they've lived up to it on border security and immigration. That's not possible. It's not possible. The approval ratings for the deportations are in the 60s, in the 60th percentile. So that right there tells me that I don't know who they polled, but it wasn't a cross-section of America. If only 51% say that they've lived up to border security and immigration. You can't just deport 15 million people lickety-split like that. I don't know why certain people, certain members of the Crusader Nation in our chat room seem to think that you just snap your fingers, round up a couple of million Border Patrol agents, and just start the giant broom sweep to the Mexican border. That's not how it works. Now, some people may be self-deporting now and may be leaving because they are afraid that they're going to get caught or they're going to get busted. But there are hundreds of thousands that have been that have been deported. I just don't know. Even in the best of times, with a federale that is functioning completely, how you get rid of what Biden imported in.
They're not walking around with illegal T-shirts.
Yeah, Maggie's saying they're not walking around, they're not marked. Now, they are, many of them are registered, though. They did get tagged and released. So it's not as though you don't have an idea of the identification of most of them. Foreign policy, they get 44% approval. Changing business as usual in Washington, 40% approval. The economy, this is the one that I would be startled by if I was in the White House and I was reading this and thought that it was accurate. You better get busy. 34% on the economy, 63% say falling short. Looking out for the middle class, 33% and 65%. This is all, the last year are pretty much the same. Inflation and the cost of living, 30% yes, and 66% falling short. And I think this is, I think it's a valid concern. Magdalene and I talk about it. Why aren't you, I almost used the vulgar adage, why aren't you bullocks to the wall on domestic policy and on the domestic fronts? There are so many things that are screaming out for attention that can be addressed. But it seems we got to fix the military. We got to have peace all over the world, and we're all fans of peace. Now, maybe this is incrementalism, and you make the trade deals with the foreign nations so that the pieces are in place for a revivified American economy to turn around. My only consolation on this, because I don't think that it's nearly this bad, because I've seen the executive orders that have been signed, he's done a lot. It just hasn't taken hold yet. My consolation on this is that when the Reagan tax cuts were passed in 1981, it wasn't until the late summer 1982 when you started to see the impact. You know, there was a recession in '81. It was and it was pretty bad. Of course, the Democrats were howling for the entire year about how rotten and everything was because we had cut the taxes and people were, welfare programs are going to get cut. Pretty much the same scenario that we have today. And it didn't seem as though the marginal tax rate cuts had any effect. It looked like they had a negative effect. So you have to go all the way through 1981 and then through the winter of 1982, which was bad, and then into the spring. And it's not until the summer or the third quarter, 1982, that you start to see the impact of the marginal tax cut rates or tax rate cuts. And then I don't have to tell you what happened after that because there was a boom. There was a massive boom. I think that especially if you keep the inflation monster in check, which you can only do by cutting the spending and cutting the debt. But if you are able to do that, well, then I think there is a delayed that there will be a delayed impact. But this is a self-inflicted wound of sorts. And there's lots that can be done about it. Trump sat down with 60 Minutes. There's a big interview with Nora O'Donnell. Apparently, they recorded almost 90 minutes of interview, but they only broadcast, 14 or 24?
20-something.
You said, I think it's 24 minutes.
27.
Yeah. It was an hour and a half long, but they only broadcast 24. So the White House was quick to point out, and was like, "Here, if you want to see the whole thing, here's what they didn't show you in the interview." But back to the expectations and the result of that one singular NBC news poll. Guess what happened this weekend? Well, first of all, a judge intervened and said, "You can't cut SNAP benefits."
Why don't we even listen to judges?
So now you have another federal judge now that is acting as the legislature. Here's a question. If it requires the U.S. Senate and a vote in the U.S. Senate to restore funding to the appropriation for SNAP programs and everything else, to reopen the government, as they say, if it requires the United States Senate 60 votes, then to do this, to fund the SNAP program, statutorily is dependent upon which branch of the government then? Does everyone see the question that I asked there? Well, if it's held up in the Senate and the Democrats won't give the 3 votes that are now needed to get to 60 to break the filibuster and then to advance the CR, the continuing resolution, so Trump can sign it and everybody gets their back pay and whatever, and the government reopens, then in what branch of the 3 branches of the government is the shutdown legally and statutorily tied up in? Did you say executive? Wrong answer. Did you say judicial? Wrong answer. It's in the legislative. It's in the Senate. So if it's in the legislative, can someone please explain to me how a member then of the judicial branch, which a judge is, has any statutory authority to make a decision, yay or nay, on this? You see how I laid that out there? This is an instance where the Trump administration, the executive, would be, "Oh, okay, you want to do that? So it's not even in your wheelhouse, and you're barking orders out." How can a judge require, how can a singular jurist require an expenditure? And if they can, well, then what do you need the legislative branch for? Just tell them to stay home from now until forever. Don't reopen the government. Take all of the funding things that the Democrats are out there screaming bloody murder over and just take them to court. Tell the federal judiciary, you get in front of the right judge, bark an order out that this must be funded and this abortion and that thing must be funded and this soup kitchen and that what have you, and just let the judiciary do all the funding then. Because if you did it in the one instance, why can't you do it in all the others? Folks, this is madness. This is not how this system is supposed to work. By the way, in the city of Boston, this is fascinating, I think. In the city of Boston, they had a big hoop-de-doo meeting on Saturday. Michelle Wu convened all of the poor people, all the poor in the media there, to point fingers at Trump and saying the president of the United States has shut down the government and has shut the SNAP program down so he can starve people to death as a political move. This and that, the usual stuff that you would expect to hear. But then something strange happened. Then she started talking about people that actually have a stake in the citizenry of Boston stepping up to the plate and donating food and donating funds to buy food. So that in Boston, and then she gave the number, I think 58,000 or whatever the number is, Bostonians that are relying upon a SNAP program, all got fed this weekend. Privately. And I'm watching this going like, so you're saying you solved the problem. You actually solved the problem. Why can't you do that long term? What do you need the federales, what do you need the federal government of the United States to do it if you figured out a way to do it locally in Boston? Could they not figure out a way to do it locally in Trenton, New Jersey, or wherever the hell else or Baltimore, Maryland, or wherever it's needed here? You can't have it both ways. You can't say that Trump is starving people to death and they're actually starving, and then say, but it's okay, we rallied together and figured out a way to do it, and here are the people that are here, and thank them for their generosity, which is pretty much what I said and I've been saying since the threat of the SNAP shutdown began. Wouldn't we all be better off if we returned and restored charity back to the people and take it away from the government? I think it's just simple. So we have that soundbite. I'll play it for you later on in the program. Just another interesting little thing that someone told me. Congratulations to our friend Joe Clovis, whose son was ordained as a Catholic priest this, I guess it was Saturday on All Saints Day. And let's see here. He took the name Simon Peter, or that's his name, Simon Peter Clovis, and he is now Father Simon Peter. And this is a cause for celebration and for great exaltation and joy. And Joe sent me some pictures. I think I actually have a video of this. Is this the video you sent me, Joe? Here, Maggie. You know what? I'll send it to you during the timeout because it's a bunch of singular files. But in any event, Joe tells me, and telling me the good news, he says that Father Simon Peter says, he goes, Dad, I don't know why you listen to that Mike Church guy so much. He's too intense. So, Father Simon Peter, pray for my intensity. I'm going to ask Father Simon Peter, look, I may need some help in the intensity department. So maybe he's true. Maybe it's true. Maybe we need to back off. this is on that subject here, since people are now writing me, and people are shocked to learn about these, quote, Catholic influencers, close quote, in broadcast media that give Magdalene Rose, who is my booking agent, who she takes care of booking most of. If I go on a show outside of the Crusade Channel, it's probably because Magdalene set it up. And as she was telling you the story of these Catholic influencers who won't book the KingDude. And they ask her question, well, what do we get out of it? How many views are we going to get? No, that's not enough. Tell him we said no, or whatever the case may be. And people are surprised by this. I've received some notes and some letters of encouragement that, and I'll read you one of them next hour, that it seems to them that they have this backwards and that this moment in media is filled with a bunch of pikers. Now, it's me saying piker. They don't say piker, but a bunch of wannabes. A couple of things that are happening. We have a screed from Get Out the Phone, you big dope, from Mark Levin, losing his mind. Where was he at? Where was this? I think you have it on the cut sheet, right? I mean, I saw it. He was at a Republican Jewish coalition. I have a question. Is there a Republican Catholic coalition? Asking for a friend. Wait a minute. There I go. You know what? I need Jackie Gleason's watch from Smokey and the Bandit. I need the watch that goes beep, 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 when your blood pressure goes up. That will be a sign that I'm being too intense. Is there a Republican Catholic coalition? Bueller, anyone? Asking for a friend. Hell, is there a Republican Christian coalition? Now, I know that there used to be a Christian coalition. That was Pat Robertson's group, wasn't it? Back in the 80s and 90s. In any event, Levin at this Republican Jewish coalition seems to think, and I guess this is the word on the street now, that Nick Fuentes is about to take over all of conservative broadcast media. And apparently Levin and others are horrified at the prospect because Fuentes, as many of you know, and if you don't know, I shall inform you, seems to be an outspoken anti-Zionist, which means he doesn't think that the United States, and many people agree with this, that the United States should be in the business of funding and fighting all the Middle East wars on behalf of the country and the nation state of Israel. And that Israel can't do anything wrong. It's impossible because they are God's chosen people. And if they say jump, we have to say how high. But it's not just Levin that thinks this. Here is the headline from Rod Dreher this morning. The fight for ownership of tomorrow. What? Milka, what? What are you talking about? And the Islamic way of war, Europe's creative sterility. Dreher says, and I can tell you that I've also been hearing this as well. I've been getting some kind emails and texts from people thanking me for my courage in standing up against this anti-Semitism monster threatening the GOP and the conservative movement. Now, Levin is also talking about Tucker Carlson. People are blaming Tucker now. It's all his fault because he interviewed Fuentes.
He started the whole interview and said, I just want you to get your point out.
And Tucker is also responsible for this because at the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit in July, he talked about how many young people are not Zionists, and that the anti-Zionist movement, especially among youths, conservative Republican youths, is growing. Well, there's a reason for that, because Republican conservative youths seem to think, and we agree with them or they agree with us, that you can't be an America firster and have another country that cuts the line in front of America. Why is that anti-Semitic? It's not anti-Semitic to say American money, American blood, and American treasure should not be waged in a war being fought by another country. Same deal in Ukraine. You know, somebody would accuse me of this. I would say, well, I am as opposed to it in Ukraine and us funding the Ukrainians as I am as us funding the Israelis. And I would be opposed to us funding anyone and their wars. This is just a little different here, though. Dreher is standing up. He's being thanked for his courage and standing up against his anti-Semitism monster, threatening the GOP and the conservative movement. While I appreciate the compliment, it says something about our current moment, that it is considered courageous to take a stand against a neo-Nazi incel, Holocaust denier, and his enablers. Now, he's definitely talking about Fuentes. And if you don't know what an incel is, you're going to have to look it up. An introverted celibate. Incel. I would not... Ladies, don't look it up because it's you won't like the definition you're going to get back. You haven't? But here we are. And then he publishes the poll, the NBC News poll that I just showed, and is asking the question, well, why isn't Trump doing more on the domestic front? This is, I think, an interesting kind of crossroad moment. Someone on X, you know what, it might have been Eric Salmon, somebody was pointing out that many, many years ago, if conservatives had chosen Pat Buchanan over George Bush in the 1990s, if we had been America firsters, if the conservative movement, if you will, had taken that left turn or that right turn at Albuquerque that I tell you about, and had gone the route that Patrick J. Buchanan was encouraging and was taking and ran for the presidency in 1992 and for the Republican nomination against Bush, that the battle was lost. When that battle was lost and Buchanan was put to rest. And by the way, that didn't stop Buchanan. He ran in 96 and he ran in 2000. So that didn't stop Pat. But you might have noted that he was never elected and he never received the nomination. And I think it's correct to point out that the Republican Party became the party of neocons. And it became a progressive, America Last party, and that almost everything that Trump is trying to undo today in most domestic policy instances is a result of fake conservatives colluding with leftards to implement what we have around us today. But somebody was making the point that had conservatives chosen to conserve American jobs, American industry, and all those other things, you wouldn't be in the position that you're in today, and there would be no threat from a Fuentes.
Hey, Jim, remember when we used to be like Joe Walsh?
I'm making records, my fans, they can't wait.
Now we just talk about making hit records. Well, parody versions of hit records.
Join the KingDude and Jim Mosier as they pick apart the greatest parody songs of all time and the hits they were based on. It's Album Autopsy, exclusively on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and podcast radio the way it should be, and doesn't disappoint your mother.
I just died in your arms tonight. white table, the curtains are closed, the cat's in a cradle. Who would have thought that a boy like me could come to this? Oh, I'm dying in your arms tonight. There must have been something you said. I'm dying in your arms tonight.
It's something to listen to challenge my faith and tickle my not-so-nice funny bone.
Well, you won't hear anything about Mondays coming or cheeseburgers in paradise, but you will hear the most brutally honest Catholic-inspired commentary on Parrot Talk. Weekdays.
Oh, this boats, beaches, bars, and ballads fan sees what you did there.
Weekdays at 2 Central on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on CrusadeChannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio.
The way it should be.
Hey, it's the King Dude with another free lesson in stuff you really don't need to know. Harvest was Great Britain's name for the season that follows summer until autumn began to displace it at the end of the 16th century. But English immigrants to America preferred fall to autumn. And did you know that fall is caused by the sun setting below the equator in the northern hemisphere sky, also known as the equinox, which continues south to the winter solstice? Here's another seasonal fact for you. The flag of the Sacred Heart of Jesus is also known as the Carillon de Sacre-Cœur, or the original flag of Quebec. And did you know that our founders Trading Post is the exclusive maker and distributor of this one-of-a-kind, full-size, beautiful flag? Order a Sacred Heart flag right now and take $5 off, and I'll throw in a matching Sacred Heart flag bumper sticker for free. You know, don't cost nothing. Hurry, fall is here, and flag flying season in the north is limited. To order, go to mikechurch.com/flag or call us at 844-527-8723. The Carillon de Sacre-Cœur flag will beautify any indoor or outdoor space it flies in, but supplies are limited. So order today at mikechurch.com/flag or call us 844-527-8723.
The Crusade Channel and the slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary's Sisters present the Saint of the Day.
Hello, Crusaders. This is Sister Mary Joseph with your Saint of the Day. Today is October 31st, the feast of Saint Wolfgang, who died in 994. Saint Wolfgang was a native of Swabia in Germany. He was educated by the Benedictines and joined that order when he was 40 years old. He was raised to the priesthood and sent with a group of monks as missionaries to the Magyars, and eventually was made Bishop of Ratisbon. He was tutor to the Emperor Henry II. He restored many of the Benedictine abbeys of his day, raised the standard of education, and was so devoted to the poor that he became known as the great benefactor for those who are without material possessions. Saint Wolfgang's pupil, Emperor Henry II, became a saint. St. Henry's feast day is July 15th. Today is also the feast of St. Quintin, martyr. St. Quintin was a Roman, descended of a senatorian family, and is called by his historian the son of Zeno. Full of zeal for the kingdom of Jesus Christ and burning with a holy desire to make his powerful name and the mysteries of his love and mercy known among the infidels, he left his country, renounced all prospects of preferment, and attended by St. Lucian of Beauvais, made his way to Gaul. God made him equally powerful in words and works, and his discourses were authorized and strongly recommended by great numbers of miracles, and illustrated and enforced by a most holy and mortified life. The reward of his charitable labors was the crown of martyrdom, which he received in the beginning of the reign of Maximian Herculeus, who was associated in the empire by Diocletian in the year 286. St. Quintin, St. Wolfgang, pray for us. Thank you for joining us for this brief summary of the lives of today's saints. Tomorrow is the Feast of All the Saints. To access our Saint of the Day recordings as podcasts, head to crusadechannel.com/saints. You can learn more about our sisters and the building of our convent.org. I'm Sister Mary Joseph, and until next time, may God bless and Mary keep you.
When most people hear the word coffee, they conjure up visions of a ceramic mug in the palm of both hands and a woman slowly sipping. This isn't a Folgers commercial. It's for Cappuccino Holy Roast, and here's how I take mine. With a dash of vanilla, a pinch of cinnamon, a spoonful of honey, and lots of heavy cream. Add some ice, shake, and then enjoy, while knowing that's $6 the libs at Starbucks can't spend to ruin my life and yours.
Cappuccino Holy Roast in whole bean or grind is available at shop.mychurch.com. While Trump continues to try and make America great again
By doing Mortal Kombat with the Clinton, Comey, and Clapper crime families.
you forgot the...
Nope, did not. And the king of Russia treason, the Obama father.
Well, we'll always be there for you with the best live coverage and commentary in media on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio.
The way it should be.
Back in the 90s, there was this thing called the cigar boom, where everyone was buying and smoking handmade cigars. But here's the thing. The popular cigars then were the best-made cigars, like Fuente, Joya de Monterrey, and Avo. Over the next 10 years, craftsmanship was replaced by gimmick and slick packaging, and that's when I decided to get in the business and launched El Rey Dude Corona cigars. 20 years later, I launched Mancipio Maria cigars with that same principle in mind. Make a great handmade cigar, and that's exactly what we do in 4 sizes. I invite you to try a 4-pack sampler of my Mancipia Maria cigars and taste them for yourself in smooth, natural, or bold Maduro wrappers. And to sweeten the deal, I've discounted them 25% for a limited time. And as always, we include a personal humidifier with every order. To order, go to shop.mikechurch.com. Order $50 or more, and shipping is on me. Try my Mancipia Maria cigars today at shop.mikechurch.com.
It's the WWE and the UFC for live talk radio Thursday Night Throwdown, hosted by you. Win a seat at the table, win the throwdown, and then you pick next week's topic.
Now that's real live talk radio exclusively on the Crusade Channel. Radio, the way it should be.
The Mike Church Show, serving the hard liquor of truth to men who want to get drunk fast. Since 1992.
Well, I was rolling down the road in some cold blue steel. I had a blues man on the back and a beautician out the wheel. We're going downtown in the middle of the night. We're laughing and I'm joking and we're feeling alright. Oh, I bet I'm nationwide. Yes, I bet I'm nationwide. Easing down the highway in a new car.
All aboard, it's coming aboard. The freight train of truth is leaving MAGA station.
In the back, they sporting short.
The Mike Church Show is on the Crusade Channel. I know it's a Monday. I know. You got a hangover. You're tired from being... Well, you're tired of weekending. You got to go back to work today. Spent all of your money this weekend, and this radio guy's telling you, look, we need donations at crusadechannel.com/donate. We also need you to step into the Founders Trading Post store and order your 10th anniversary, Crusade Channel 10th anniversary commemorative limited edition t-shirts and button-down red cap brand button-down work shirts at shop.mikechurch.com. All true, or there won't be a 10th anniversary next Tuesday. So crusadechannel.com/donate and shop.mikechurch.com for the store. Okay, let's go back to the subject that I was talking about at the top of last hour, or at the end of the last hour. TOH, as they say in the business. Top of hour. Here is George Webb. Our buddy George Webb. The Ziklag infiltration. Faith-based power shift in American conservatism. Will 1,000 pastors unknowingly lead their flocks to another J6 slaughter in 2028? And then George says, I'm writing this from the Kibbutz Sharet bunkhouse. 6 a.m, wood smoke still hanging low, a dozen citizen journalists asleep in the next room. We'd gone late into the night debating whether something called Ziklag, yes, named after the biblical refuge of David, had truly slipped its way into Turning Point USA and the broader Christian right movement. Now, I would tell you that people have been asking me, is it George Webb your buddy? And I go, yeah, George and I are good friends. He'll say, well, your boy George Webb is stirring a pot up.
He's always stirring a pot. He's an investigative journalist.
There's an internecine war inside conservatism. And he's stirring it. My response is, I love George, but George is like me. I don't think he's popular enough to stir the pot, the big one up. He didn't have enough followers. Neither do I. Apparently, though, they're blaming Webb, or they're saying that Webb is behind this. I saw the other day, who did I see that was thinking, thank the Lord, that Lara Loomer.
Oh, please.
That Lara Loomer has waded into the fray, because if she hadn't have said this, then we all would have been hoodwinked. And I have to ask the question, do you people never get tired of living in the generation and in a fog of hoodwinkism? I mean, to me, it's more entertaining to hang around and complain about how bad the Saints are than to have to talk about this crap incessantly. Especially since people keep telling me that I don't have a voice in it because you don't have enough followers, so shut up. So back to George. We're not theorizing conspiracies here. We're chasing a paper trail. As Reuters recently noted, a surge of faith-based political organizing has blurred the line between activism and spiritual mission inside Republican networks. Now, that was from 2024. TPUSA's Pastor Summit in Candace Owens' Nashville, Tennessee. And then he gives some headlines. TPUSA's Pastor Summit in Nashville, Tennessee, March 25th, 2025. And he has a couple of images in here from Tyler Bauer. Remember Charlie Kirk, fight for what is right. Turn to action. And then George says Tyler Bauer is one of a host of new TPUSA insiders that Candace Owens has called out as shady operators. And then there's a live stream that George hosted on this the other day. We have started way back before dawn and gone late into the evening by the fire at our Charlie Kirk research charrette. We're on day 17 now. The question we're asking is whether that zeal is now being used for something more operational, a campaign of infiltration and mobilization targeting 1,000 churches ahead of 2028. And then Webb says, the Bible says that Ziklag was a place of exile and renewal. Modern activists invoke it as a metaphor, a refuge under tension, as one Christianity Today article described. But when the term appears in incorporation documents for Texas nonprofits tied to ex-military pastors, it deserves scrutiny. We gather evidence, not outrage. Candace Owens' name keeps surfacing. Remember last week we told you that Candace Owens played a clip from George Webb in talking about what's going on inside conservatism. For the record, no one has asked me. Because if you asked me what I think is happening here, I would not give this answer. But I will give you an answer. Candace Owens' name keeps surfacing as both insider and reformer. Her criticism of corporate capture at Turning Point USA mirrored what political scientists have called an identity realignment moment, which conservative youth culture within conservative youth culture. I've seen that moment ignite before when faith, fear, and national politics fuse. The job is to map it out before it turns too hot. And then in part 2 of George's piece, he says, Turning Point USA from Campus Boost to Faith Summits. And then he gives a little bit of his history of Turning Point, started in 2012 by Charlie Kirk and Bill Montgomery. And then all this, by 2019, however, the Washington Post was already describing a theological turn as the group launched Turning Point Faith to mobilize pastors. Now, all this is true. It happened. As a matter of fact, I was asked to exhibit at the 2024 TPUSA Christian Leaders Summit, which they had in Tampa at the same place they had the Student Action Summit. The previous year, they had called it a Christian Leader Summit, and I declined. And the reason I declined is because if I'm going to go to something like that, well, then I'm going to go and represent as a Catholic, because I am one. And I thought that I just didn't see the point in doing it, and so I didn't. I was invited. I mean, not like to go and talk, but to go put the booth up and do broadcasts and all that stuff. And then Webb has more on kind of the history and where and how TPUSA gets to where it is today. Part 3 is the Seven Mountains Mandate and Military Echoes, and then he keeps quoting this Miss Terry guy. As I guess one of the rabble-rousers, or if you will, people that are apparently there. If there is a struggle, then it seems to me that it's inside and it's internecine Turning Point. No, I don't know why there would be a struggle, because the Catholic position inside Turning Point is small. I mean, there are Catholics in it, but it is primarily evangelicals or Protestants of whatever denomination. That's not a knock. That's just a fact. I don't think I'm breaking any news there. So it would be an incredible development if TPUSA were turning towards becoming a young person's Catholic outreach organization. What does Trump give them credit for? Registering voters, turning young skulls full of mush from morons into functioning young people that have brains and kind of know what's going on and think that it's probably a better thing for them to make America great again than to try to make it a communist, or to try to keep it socialist or communist, or whatever the case you may think. I don't see where the controversy is, which makes me wonder. Okay, Maggie, play the last clip on your, or second to last. Play 16. Which makes me wonder why I get this. That's yes. Who is Levin talking about, and why is he losing his mind over it? Watch.
I just want the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West crowd to understand something. You're going to have to come through me and millions of people just like me, and you're not going to make it. You think your stupid little podcast, or your stupid little subscription program, or your little TV show, or maybe you have a little radio show, is going to change the world like hell it is, not if I and everybody else have something to say about it. And
Okay, podcast, I kind of know who he's talking about. Radio program? Who has one? Other than me. Fuentes doesn't have one. So who is he talking? Tucker Carlson doesn't have one. So who is he talking about? Is he talking about people that are filling in for Charlie? And who is he talking about with your stupid little podcast? You're going to have to go through me. And you're going to do what exactly? So people are retweeting this and republishing it and saying that Levin is on the rampage. Against who? Look, my view is if you've identified an enemy, you have a duty to say who the enemy is. If the enemy is that big of a threat, well, then identify him. So everybody can get in on the fight.
This is somebody that has people call him the Great One.
Yeah, this is right. This is people call him the Great One. Why? Where has he ever been great? Now back to Dreher. And I think that Dreher is talking about Nick Fuentes. So he lists the NBC News poll that I shared with you last hour, and he says this ought to scare the hell out of the White House. The Republicans are losing seriously to Democrats on bread and butter issues. You know, Rod, you live in Budapest and you visit the United States from time to time. That's not what is happening here. We're not losing to Democrats. The Democrat Party is in a death spiral cycle. It's circling the drain. Now, are Republicans doing everything that they should be doing and they're doing it correctly? No. But they're not losing to Democrats. Trump is unpopular and Vance is polling at 39%. Trump is popular. His approval ratings are good. What are you talking about? And he says appeasing the groypers. Okay, what's a groyper? Well, a groyper was a term that was coined to identify people like Fuentes. And the term groyper basically means that you say that you're in this media battle or you're in the fight against evil or whatever, and you're all good, you're red, white, and blue, your mom, your apple pie, and hot dogs and baseballs, and yay, the Dodgers won the World Series, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're all for Jesus, too. But at the end of the day, it's all about the grift. It's how much money you are taking in. The true measure of your success is not hearts and minds that have been won over to the faith and and conversion to the faith. It's how many zeros are in the bank account. That's a grifter. And most people that are in broadcast media that publicly announce themselves as being representatives of or leaders of Christians or Christianity or whatever the case, there in too many instances, yeah, they are all about the grift. So that's what a groyper is. I think that people actually attached the term groyper, though, to Fuentes, Nick Fuentes, a couple of years back. Appeasing the groyper should be very far from a priority. It is very hard to see how handing the Democrats the gift albatross of a neo-Nazi, Holocaust-denying incel to hang around the heads of the GOP is going to help them with normie voters who would like the administration and Congress to do something about the cost of living. That we are even having this conversation tells me that the leadership is way, way, way too online. Now, I've actually, my conversations with Magdalene, I've talked about this. The online world is not the real world, but that most people think that the online world is real. And Magdalene said, well, no, I think that the online world is becoming part of reality because you can't really do anything these days without it. Okay, fair point taken. So Dreher's saying that the leadership is way, way too online. So again, what he's talking about here is a problem that I've been identifying for about a decade now. And it has to do with the grift. Look. Is politics a business, or is it a necessary component to how things are going to work in this union of states? If it's a business, well, then heaven help all of us. And I think that it, in large part, has become, for way too many people, a business. And anytime you interject that amount of money into it and you make it a competition to get it, you're going to have the situation that you have today. You know, what's interesting to me about this is we're not having any kings, no kings. Do you think a king could do what the major political parties do by snapping their fingers? No king in the era of the faith in Christendom could do what a major political party or the president of the United States could do like that. No king. There was no king that could do that. As a matter of fact, the king was reliant upon the approval and upon the cooperation of the nobles that were beneath him, and then ultimately to the serfs or to the lower classes to carry any major campaign out. He couldn't do it on his own. And if he got too far out over his skis, what would they do? They'd kill him. They'd kill him and they'd put the next family member in there. Or they'd change the entire lineage. Even though the Democrats are responsible for the government shutdown, the poll reveals that the public blames the Republicans. One poll from NBC News does not a movement or a nation of thought thing. It's interesting that he cites the 1972 movie Cabaret with Liza Minnelli in it, and that there was a song in it. Part of the songs. One of the songs in the movie says, "Tomorrow belongs to me." And these are, if you don't know where Cabaret, George Webb and I have talked about Cabaret. Cabaret is the heyday of the Weimar Republic. What were they doing in the heyday of the Weimar Republic in the cabarets? Trannies, homosexuals, pederasts. The Weimar Republic was basically instigated by perverts, or what ultimately becomes the Nazi Party, the German National Socialist Party, is filled with sexual deviant perverts. Is the young conservative movement Republican Party filled with sexual deviant perverts? If it is, I am not aware of it. Are there sexual deviant perverts in it? Yeah, I'm sure there are some. Are they in control? Are they running the thing? Well, he's talking about Fuentes. Now, I don't know that you have the soundbite, but I think that you probably could easily find it, of Nick Fuentes on Friday or whenever it was, throwing J.D. Vance under the bus, backing it up and running him over, and calling J.D. Vance all manner of names, and saying awful, terrible things about him. And as I said, no, wait a minute now, you guys are portraying this guy as the Catholic's Catholic. J.D. Vance is the convert to the faith. He's a Catholic. Is he a political figure? Yes. Okay, fine. Can you talk about him and his politics publicly and disagree? Absolutely. Should you be going after him for matters of faith? Absolutely not. If you have something to say about what J.D. is doing, especially as it pertains to his wife, because this is what Fuentes was. He called her some. I'm not going to repeat the.
It's a 2-minute and 43-second clip.
Play it.
It's what you retweeted.
All right. Why would we let this fat guy who's married to a Jeet and works for a gay CIA Fed, why would we let him grow? It's like so insane. The J.D. Vance operation is in full swing, man. Think about it. Andrew Tate and Bronze Age pervert and all these people, for years, all they talk about is going to the gym, being a vitalist, fighting the Matrix, India smells bad, all this kind of shit. And now they're all in favor of a fat race mixer who's married to a Jeet who named his son Vivek, who was mentored by a Jewish neocon and a gay Fed, Peter Thiel, and the guy's in bed with fucking Israel.
All right. Sorry about the F-bomb. I thought that was the censored version. You get the idea. This is Catholic broadcasting? This is the leader of the Catholic broadcasters? I'm sorry, I must have gotten on the wrong train. this is who the young people are attracted to because he can drop S and F bombs while making nonsensical points and making fun of J.D. Vance's choice of wife. I don't even know what that term is, but I can guess. I haven't heard that insult before, but I can guess what it means. What part of the Christian, of the Lord's command to go forth to teach all men of all nations all that I have taught you? He didn't distinguish between races.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Silk Feather. Ma'am, what would you like to drink?
Oh, I'll take the Dom Perignon, of course.
Ah, the lady has taste. And you, sir? I'll just take the Diet Coke. Oh, dear. You know, what I miss about the good old days before social media and AI ruined everything?
Let me guess. No fat people outside of the circus, and Ozempic was the name of a demon in C.S. Lewis story, right?
Well, yeah, but besides that, classic radio shows with actors and actual stories.
Well, lucky for the human race, the Crusade Channel is rolling over 900 episodes of a show called Suspense.
Tweak your mystery-solving muscles over lunch and catch episodes of Suspense, weekdays noon till 2 on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and classic radio the way it should be.
I like my version of suspense. Hey!
Doesn't work without me.
The Crusade Channel and the slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary's Sisters present the Saint of the Day.
Hello, Crusaders. This is Sister Maria Junipero with your Saint of the Day. Today's feast is the feast of St. Martin de Porres, St. Malachy O'More, St. Sylvia, St. Winifred, and St. Hubert. St. Martin de Porres was a South American, born of a Spanish father and an Indian mother. He lived at Lima, Peru. He became a lay brother in the Dominican order. So great was his holiness that his light shone all through the New World. His memory will never be forgotten. So great was his power of prayer that he raised a dead man to life. He was 70 years old when he died. St. Malachy O'More was a noble Irish saint who was born at Armagh in the year 1095. He was the primate of Armagh in his day. Armagh was the first see established in Ireland by St. Patrick. On a pilgrimage he made to Rome, St. Malachy stopped at the Abbey of Clairvaux and died in the arms of St. Bernard, its abbot. St. Sylvia was the mother of St. Gregory the Great, Pope and Doctor of the Universal Church. St. Hubert was a French saint and a nobleman, who before he was converted was a worldling and lover of pleasure. His chief passion was for hunting, to which he devoted all his time. On Good Friday morning, when the faithful were going to the church, Hubert mounted his horse for the woods. As he was pursuing a magnificent stag, the animal turned to look at his pursuer, and Hubert saw a crucifix between his antlers, then heard a voice saying, "Hubert, unless you turn to the Lord and lead a holy life, you will quickly go down into hell." He is the patron saint of hunters. St. Martin de Porres, St. Malachy O'More, St. Sylvia, St. Winifred, and St. Hubert, pray for us. Thank you for joining us for this brief summary of the lives of today's saints. Tomorrow's saint is St. Charles Borromeo. To access all of our Saint of the Day recordings as podcasts, head to crusadechannel.com/saints. You can learn more about our sisters and the building of our convent by visiting stphilomena.convent.org. I'm Sister Maria Junipera, and until next time, God bless and Mary keep you.
Do you hear that, Maggie?
Do I hear what?
You don't hear the sound of bees buzzing about?
No, I see the result of that buzzing about and these beautiful new beeswax candles.
We sell candles now?
Not just any candles. These are handmade beeswax candles.
Well, that explains me imagining bees.
And they come in different sizes. There's a votive, a 3-day, and a 7-day size too.
Well, that should start a buzz in the store.
It better, or you'll get the buzz.
Order handmade beeswax candles today while supplies last at shop.mikechurch.com.
Captain's log, crusade date 17.76.40. Trump fleet has ordered us to the Lunar Drano system to investigate a disturbance on a newly discovered planet called Influencer 2025. We've been warned that this civilization's statement that it wishes to make the media galaxy great again by sharing their posts with MAGA World may not be what they seem.
Entering orbit around Influencer 2025, Captain.
On screen.
Captain,
What is it, Counselor?
I'm sensing a disturbance, Captain. It is almost as though these people have an inordinate passion for greed and, in a word, Captain, grift.
Captain, we're being hailed.
On screen.
I can't. Every time I try to lock on, it asks me to click on another channel.
Ah, the old clickbait maneuver. Shields up.
Shields up.
Lieutenant Olea, open up a channel.
Aye, Captain.
Attention influencers. This is the captain of the Talkship Crusade 4. We're here on behalf of Trump Fleet because you requested to join the MAGA Federation. Identify yourselves.
I am breaking. I am, do you see it? I am subscribed to unlock.
Darn it, mister. Can you speak in anything longer than a cliche?
Captain, the powering up what looks like to be an outraged porn cannon.
Go to red alert number 2. Instant the truth. Arm, entertain, and entertain podcast torpedoes.
Monologues loaded, Captain. Outraged porn incoming. Intelligence shields holding but weakened, Captain. Crew IQ down to 87%.
Mr. the Truth, fire Hour 1 monologue podcast.
Fire. A direct hit, Captain. IQ levels are growing again.
Captain.
Yes, Lieutenant.
They've blocked us?
Will the Crusade 4 be able to reconnect with the people on Influencer 25 and save them from its time to move on ya? Stay tuned to the next episode of Talk Trek.
Blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits, putting on the Ritz. Different types who wear a day coat, pants with stripes and cutaway coat, perfect fits, putting on the Ritz. Dress up
Like $1 million trooper. How you doing?
trying hard to look like Gary Cooper.
Here we'll tell you when it's time to push the panic button. Don't push the panic button yet, folks. I think a lot of this stuff is being conceived and implemented by the enemy. It's Mike Church Show here on the Crusade Channel. I can tell you this, that you can get to the 34-year mark in broadcast, in the broadcast profession, and never have uttered a single time as part of your broadcast an F-bomb. True story. You can make it to the 34-year mark in broadcasting and never have done an awful lot of other things that I hear and see other people doing. True story. So is it that the Utes out there are craving that kind of craven language? Where do you get that from good Catholics? Maggie, you say what? I'm curious. What say you?
I think they mistake the language and then him just going all, you know what, to the wall. They mistake that for authenticity, like he's being authentic instead of just calling it out for what it is. It's just vulgar.
Well, there are people in the Crusader Stadium chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat that are saying that he and he alone was the only one that was asking about the Zionists or calling Zionism into question. That's just not true. That's not true. Now, he may have had the most amount of followers while he was asking that question, but he's not the only one. But here, let me rephrase that. He isn't the only one. We did entire shows. Brother Andre Marie's done entire episodes of Reconquest on the actual intellectual origins of Zionism and the Schofield Bible and the turn of what used to be known by all Christians into what is supposedly known by many of them today. So that's just not true. So Dreyer has this on this question here. The viewer contrasts this scene, a wholesome and sentimental song performed in the beautiful sunlight, with the decadent performances in the nighttime cabaret. He's talking about the movie Cabaret in the early Weimar Republic, because a lot of people are saying, we're at Weimar Republic now, we're going to all turn out to be Nazis. No, we're not going to turn out to be Nazis. And hopefully there's enough Klaus von Stauffenbergs out here to stop that from happening. As you watch the scene above, notice that by the end, all the people in the beer garden are singing the song. The Nazis are giving them a sense of hope. After years of terrible economic hardship and the breakdown of their society, in the Weimar period, of course, it was a horrible lie. We know that now. But millions of exhausted and desperate Germans didn't know it then. While the sophisticates were enjoying the decades of the Kit Kat Club, ordinary Germans long for what these National Socialist minstrels were hymning. So you don't have to watch the clip from Cabaret, which I don't feel like playing. So if you've seen the movie, then you know what he's talking about. If not, again, this is Weimar Republic, which was the people that were controlling the Weimar Republic before it became Nazi Germany, were perverts. Almost all of them were perverts. Nazism came from somewhere. This was one of the most important lessons the Allies learned from the mistakes of the First World War and the way they dealt with a defeated Germany. This is why the Marshall Plan was so important. Nick Fuentes isn't like the film's handsome young Nazi minstrel. If anything, he has far more in common with the Kit Kat Club decadents. Though he's far less interesting. Nevertheless, if someone were to come along today and offer something that struck people as life-giving, instead of childishly nihilistic, the person could go far in Weimar America. I checked in yesterday with Hannah Arendt's The Origins of Totalitarianism to remind myself why she saw anti-Semitism as a precursor to totalitarianism. The basic argument Hannah Arendt makes is that anti-Semitism provides a scapegoat that can unite a badly fragmented society around a common enemy, even if it is detached from reality. Jews become the all-purpose enemy, whose existence explains society's troubles with deadly simplicity. The more popular it becomes, the more society becomes conditioned to think of individuals as faceless collective groups. Yeah, you mean like they made us out to be the non-vaxxers, Rod, and the people that were non-maskers and didn't take and didn't gargle with the COVID bait. Moreover, anti-Semitism exploits the willingness of atomized people, devoid of meaning and structure, and their willingness to believe any fiction that restores purpose and order to their lives. And it justifies terror against the other as a way of restoring the lost order for which people long. It starts with the Jews, but won't end there. Now, there are two articles. Or I tell you what, this is the Mondayest of all Mondays. I've never had a Monday that was this crappy bad Monday.
Oh, yes, we have.
No, we haven't.
Oh.
No, there hasn't been a Monday that has been this awful, terrible, bad Monday. There is, okay, so if you were to go to the drudgereport.com, did you click any of that? I'm looking now for, is there, or has it already gone? There it is. Drudge headlines, not that they matter, but I'll read them to you. MAGA lawmaker calls Tucker most dangerous anti-Semite. Now, who might that be? So this is MAGA Representative Randy Fine had harsh words for former Fox News host Tucker Carlson while discussing anti-Semitism in the GOP before an audience with the American Jewish Coalition. I think that this is getting out of control. To say that the real Israel is the Catholic Church is the correct statement. That's not me saying that. That's not me going, oh, so you're an anti-Semite now. The Catholic teaching and the Catholic Church prior to the Schofield Bible, and still to this day, holds that there is a very important part that the Jews play in the economy of salvation, if you will. How is the last judgment going to go down? Well, the Jews will all be converted. I'm not breaking any news. If you're a Catholic, you should know this. When Brother Andre Marie, for example, says that if the state of Israel falls and the Jewish people become persecuted or starved or whatever in Israel, that it will be up to Catholics to help them, to support them. We are going to be commanded. You'll be called upon to do this because you have to. But you have to draw the distinction there. We're talking about events in the divine sense of things. So to put it bluntly, to be a pro-Semite is to be pro-Likud, to be pro-IDF, pro-Mossad, pro-Israel use of military force against any entity. Doesn't matter what it is. Well, they're Jews and they use the force. Well, it has to be good and we must defend it. That is not, that is an intellectually lazy, intellectually dishonest, and morally repugnant thing to say. You wouldn't say that about anyone. You won't even say that about the American army. Are we not non-interventionists, most of us? Do we not say that that war or this war is none of our business? Do we not say that we don't want our tax dollars being used so the Ukrainians could lob drone warfare missiles and kill into Russia and kill Russians? Did we not say in the 1990s when Pat Buchanan's voice was loud that we did not want the Clinton administration using American tax dollars to kill Christians in Bosnia in the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina? I'm pretty sure I remember hearing all these things. So why then should there be a difference when it comes to the Likud party? Again, Likud and Netanyahu do not represent the entirety of the country of Israel or Israelis. I don't know why I even have to say that. Somehow we see to have arrived at the juncture where it is required, or people won't understand it. Well, they'll accuse you of certain things. Here's another Drudge headline. Firewall against Fuentes is crumbling. Firewall? This is from the Atlantic. The firewall against Nick Fuentes is crumbling. The white supremacist influencer is entering the MAGA mainstream, by Ali Breland at the Atlantic. Hasn't Magdalene Rose used the terminology that Charlie Kirk was the firewall against Nick Fuentes? Based on the 37 seconds of the Fuentes broadcast that I played you last segment, replete with the foul language, and again, we didn't intend to do that. I thought we actually had a bleep version of it. I will make a bleep version so that we can play it, and then you can get the full flavor of it. How is it? No one has explained to me and has an explanation of how is it that this is Catholic broadcasting at its finest, and that he is like the kingmaker and is choosing winners and losers with Bannon. Have you heard Bannon's broadcast lately? Bannon hurls F-bombs all the time. Now, he may not do it every day, but I can tell you when he's live and in person, we heard F-bombs coming from the stage of Real America's Voice. Now, look, I curse. I'll be the first to tell you. I have to do the litany against profane language every day, almost. Something I'm aware of, and I'm working on it, and I've taken it to confessions before, and I continue to ask for divine help to stop me from doing it, but I don't do it here. And I don't record it. And I don't broadcast it. And you said BS once. I did, because S is something that actually it's a real thing. It occurs. Here's another one from Drudge. Civil war erupts on the right. Oh, I think that they want a civil war. It would be beneficial to the leftards. They're losing the war against Trump. They're losing the war against MAGA. They're losing the war against the idea of making America great again. And again, we ask the question, where are the domestic priorities? It's all fine for the president to threaten the government of Nigeria, to try to get Nigeria to do what it can do inside its government. We broadcast an interview 2 weeks ago with Susie Pinto, about this, and her interview with a human rights activist in Nigeria who was saying what? He was saying, like, our government can stop this, but they won't. Well, it's pretty much, I think, is Trump is using the bully pulpit to try to get the Nigerians to do it. I don't think he actually intends to send troops into Nigeria. But I will ask the question again. Why do the Christians in Nigeria matter and the Christians in Palestine and Lebanon seemingly did not? What about the Christians in Syria? The Israelis were successful in destabilizing Syria to the point where Assad is no longer a thing. Who's running Syria now? Muslims. Do you have my clip from Lara Logan? You can get it on my Twitter. I think that you should, and I don't know when she said this. It was just published on this guy's account that someone sent to me on November the 1st. So it is pretty recent. Did I not publish it? Maybe I didn't.
Not unless it was, no.
Good grief.
Before October 30th?
No. It was this morning.
Nope.
Oh, here, I have it.
It is time for us to stop calling Islam a religion. It is not a religion. You can ask any Muslim. You can ask any jihadi. They will tell you it is a civilization. It is a civilization that governs every aspect of your life. And most importantly for us in the U.S., it is a civilization that is duty-bound, according to the Quran, to install Sharia law worldwide.
Okay. Is she right, class? Is she right, Mr. Helper? Or I think that if you read Hilary Belloc's the book The Great Heresies, and you read Belloc's view of Islam, she is correct. Here's the headline that Drudge is referring to from the Hill newspaper. Civil war erupts on the right after Heritage Presidents Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes comments. Apparently, the president of the Heritage Foundation has said that a civil war, here's what he said. A civil war over the direction of the conservative movement and who should be considered part of it erupted after Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts posted a video Thursday defending Tucker Carlson for interviewing white nationalist Nick Fuentes. The statement sparked a backlash from Republican senators and a number of traditionally conservative organizations, and from staffers within the Heritage Foundation itself, who say that Fuentes, who is known for anti-Semitic commentary and his ideas, are not worthy of debate. Now, again, people, you don't. What is a Semite? You can't tell me this is not the demons in operation here. This is demonic. This is activity that is from nefarious. What is a Semite? A Semite is someone who is descended from one of Noah's 3 sons. Who were Noah's 3 sons? Japheth, Chem, and Sem. If you're a Semite, you are a descendant of Sem. You know who is a Semite? The king of Saudi Arabia is a Semite. Did you know that? Almost all Arabians are Semites. No, Mitterchurch play, the only Semites are used. No, not true. That's not true. That's not correct. That's not even anthropologically speaking, that's not true. That's not correct. So, are they really anti-Semites? Or, again, I think we need to be very careful with this. We're going to choose the language and choose it well. Or are you anti-Likud? If you're anti-Likud, the Likud party is a party of demons that is running the political establishment in Israel, in the country of Israel. Now, one of those is an operational fact, because that is true. The Likud party and Netanyahu and their leader Netanyahu are running the Knesset. Remember, there was a vote of confidence for Netanyahu back in April, and he only remained prime minister by 2 votes. And it was thought that they were going to kick him out. So so there was opposition to the Likud party in the Israeli parliament? Yes, there is. Are they anti-Semites? This is, okay, back to the Hill story. Nick Fuentes is a disgusting anti-American, anti-Semitic loser. He is not a conservative, not America First, and not an ally of President Trump or any conservative organization. One Heritage staffer, granted anonymity to share candid thoughts, told The Hill. Well, they're not candid thoughts if you gave him anonymity. In his own words, Fuentes is an ally of Stalin, Hitler, and the Taliban. That is not someone with ideas worthy of debate. Conservatives should pray he gets the help he needs, not give him even an inch of space in our movement. But Roberts has also gotten strong backup from the heads of other conservative groups and commentators with influence in the Trump administration, like former Trump advisor Steve Bannon. Now, who argued it should not be controversial to debate U.S. aid to Israel and that attempts to cancel those with opposing views are not productive. I actually agree with that. And again, why are Bannon and Fuentes on the same team? This is all so confusing, is it not? Roberts, who had, following the uproar, Roberts posted another statement Friday, more explicitly condemning the anti-Semitism from Fuentes and his followers, but not backing down from his defense of Carlson conducting the interview. Should Tucker Carlson have interviewed Nick Fuentes? It's Tucker Carlson's media. The logo in the lower right-hand corner says TCM. I don't have any problem with him interviewing him. If that's who he chooses to put on his Tucker Carlson media website and that he conducts the interview, fine. Now, you can argue with some of the things that came out of the interview and say, well, I disagree with that. Okay, fine. We'll be back. We're going to get to the bottom of this.
It's the WWE and the UFC for Live Talk Radio Thursday Night Throwdown, hosted by you. Win a seat at the table, win the throwdown, and then you pick next week's topic.
Now that's real live talk radio exclusively on the Crusade Channel. Radio, the way it should be.
Everybody loves a good trilogy. The Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and now the KingDude Seasoning Trilogy. There's Beast and Butt Rub, Acadiana Steak, and the brand new Chicken Mamu Seasoning, a lemon herb-based rub that's won trophies in barbecue chicken cook-offs. Now, we've bundled all 3 spices together, and you can get them for one low price for less than it costs to rent a movie trilogy. And the KingDude offers you his personal money-back guaranteed of your taste buds' complete satisfaction. Order a KingDude Seasoning Trilogy today at shop.mychurch.com.
Have you ever dreamed of being like Brian Kay or Mitter Monday and being a free Farm Friday star? But you know you have no shot at it because you can't tell the difference between a U and a Y-O-U. Well, lucky for you, we have an entire bookstore filled with the books you need to become so passionate for farming, you'll soon be wearing a Brian Kay Calls Me for Advice t-shirt. So learn to grow by growing your library with books by shopping at shop.mikechurch.com.
your baby by the hand and make her do a high handstand, and take your baby by the heel.
Broadcasting 50,000 kilowatts from atop the tallest radio tower on the planet. We are KRSD, the Crusade Channel, Madisonville.
Well, it's what our call letters would be.
Crusade Channel News. News you can trust.
Because let's face it, the truth just sounds different, like a symphony of facts.
And now, from the Crusade Channel News Desk, here's Janet Huxley.
Hello, Crusaders. Welcome to Monday, November 3rd, 2025. I'm Janet Huxley at the Crusade Channel News Desk, live from the Dothan Farm and Ranch, south of Kansas City, Missouri. Today's newscast is brought to you by Cookin' with the KingDude Seasoning Trilogy. There's your favorite Beast and Butt Rub, Acadiana Steak Seasoning, and the new Chicken Mamu, Lemon, Pepper, and Herb Seasoning, available for one low price at shop.mikechurch.com. Here's what to listen for this hour. Airlines step up to support federal workers as nearly 13,000 air traffic controllers go unpaid. LA police officers hit with fireworks and bottles amid celebration of Dodgers World Series win. Revolving door of Blue City repeat offenders keep being released as DA spent time prosecuting Trump. And ex-Prince Andrew could be dealt another humiliating blow as King Charles plans to take more action against him. Major airlines are stepping up to support air traffic controllers and other federal employees who continue to work without pay amid the ongoing federal government shutdown. Roughly 13,000 air traffic controllers and 50,000 Transportation Security Administration officers nationwide are considered essential, meaning they must remain on the job even as their paychecks remain in limbo. In the meantime, leading airlines told Fox News they're working to minimize delays and offer assistance to affected federal workers. LA police officers were hit with fireworks and bottles during street celebrations after the Dodgers World Series win late Saturday, no surprise, prompting police to authorize the use of tear gas to settle the chaos. Los Angeles Police Department Central Division announced early Sunday that less lethal munitions and tear gas had been authorized around Olympic Boulevard and Grand Avenue. An ex-post read that officers were being hit by industrial-sized fireworks and bottles. It wasn't immediately clear whether any officers were injured. Repeat offenders in New York City keep being given chances to terrorize as Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg spent much of his time prosecuting our president. From a man with at least 134 arrests to a manslaughter suspect receiving a light prison sentence, repeat offenders in New York City are getting chance after chance to go back out into the streets and break more laws, thanks to District Attorney Alvin Bragg and the state's bail reform law. In a day one memo to staff, he directed his office to reduce pretrial incarceration unless in very serious cases. Our quote of the day, stay quiet with God. Do not spend your time in useless chatter. St. Charles Borromeo, and coming up, our saint of the day. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
When most people hear the word coffee, they conjure up visions of a ceramic mug in the palm of both hands and a woman slowly sipping. This isn't a Folgers commercial. It's for cappuccino holy roast, and here's how I take mine. With a dash of vanilla, a pinch of cinnamon, a spoonful of honey, and lots of heavy cream. Add some ice, shake, and then enjoy, while knowing that's $6 the libs at Starbucks can't spend to ruin my life and yours.
Cappuccino Holy Roast in whole bean or grind is available at shop.mychurch.com. Now in our 9th year, Crusade Channel News is simply the best daily newscast on all of radio.
News that informs and inspires and doesn't destroy any critical thinking brain cells.
Catch it at 6, 8, and 3 p.m. on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com. Live talk and news radio.
The way it should be.
Our saint of the day is St. Martin de Porres. He was the son of a freed woman of Panama, probably black, but also probably of indigenous stock, and a Spanish dignitary of Lima, Peru. His father left the family. When he was 12, his mother apprenticed him to a barber surgeon. After a few years in this medical apostolate, Martin applied to the Dominicans to be a lay helper, not feeling himself worthy to be a religious brother. After 9 years, the example of his prayer and penance, charity and humility led the community to request him to make full religious profession. Many of his nights were spent in prayer and penitential practices, his days filled with nursing the sick and caring generously for the poor. When his priory was in debt, he said, "I am only a poor mulatto. Sell me. I'm the property of the order. Sell me." Side by side with his daily work in the kitchen, laundry, and infirmary, Martin's life reflected God's extraordinary gifts. Ecstasies that lifted him into the air, light filling the room where he prayed, bilocation, miraculous knowledge, instantaneous cures, and a remarkable rapport with animals. Many of his fellow religious took Martin as their spiritual director, but he continued to call himself a poor slave. He was a good friend of another Dominican saint of Peru, Rose of Lima. The Andrew formerly known as Prince faces a final humiliation. His brother Charles plans to strip him of his last honorary rank, Britain's defense secretary said yesterday. The former Duke of York was made a vice admiral in the Royal Navy in 2015 to mark his 55th birthday and kept the title even after being forced to give up his other military positions in 2022 in the wake of the scandal over his alleged close ties to the wealthy pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. We've seen Andrew surrender the military positions that he's had, and we're looking now at the one remaining position he has, which is the honorary vice admiral position, according to Britain's defense chief, John Healey, who spoke with Sky News. I'm Janet Huxley for the Crusade Channel, seeking news and finding truth.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Silk Feather. Ma'am, what would you like to drink?
Oh, I'll take the Dom Perignon, of course.
Ah, the lady has taste. And you, sir? I'll just take the Diet Coke. Oh, dear. You know, what I miss about the good old days before social media and AI ruined everything?
Let me guess. No fat people outside of the circus, and Ozempic was the name of a demon in C.S. Lewis story, right?
Well, yeah. But besides that, classic radio shows with actors and actual stories.
Well, lucky for the human race, the Crusade Channel is rolling over 900 episodes of a show called Suspense.
Tweak your mystery-solving muscles over lunch and catch episodes of Suspense, weekdays noon till 2 on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and classic radio the way it should be.
I like my version of suspense. Hey!
Doesn't work without me.
The Mike Church Show. A lone voice crying out in the wilderness.
What rights do you think you're referring to?
Rights, like in that official paper that they wrote down the street there?
That's the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, the Bill of Rights. Don't it say something about going after what makes you happy?
No, that's the pursuit of happiness. But what's your point?
My point is I'm pursuing something and nobody looks too happy about it.
He's defending your pursuit of the right to happiness by way of the truth since Rocky IV.
Who's got the right to tell you that? Who? Nobody.
The Mike Church Show is heard exclusively on the Crusade Channel.
Wow, look, 71 chatters in the chat room on a Monday. Woo! Dude! Are we popular again? Mike Church Show here on the Crusade Channel. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at mypillow.com/KingDude. For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com/KingDude. Don't forget my slippers, my towels, my sheets, my stuff for your dog and your cat. All available. Shipping is free. Orders of $75 or more. You'll be helping the Crusade Channel out by shopping at mypillow.com/KingDude or anywhere at MyPillow, however you get there, as long as you use the coupon code KingDude at checkout. We will get the credit, and thank you very much in advance. By the way, I am a 15-year-long MyPillow customer. We use my pillows every day, every night, unless we're not here. I keep meaning to ask Dawn to send me some of my travel pillows so I can vacuum seal those jokers and stick them in a suitcase. MyPillow.com/KingDude. My friend Donald Jeffries has a piece out today about this topic of ours. Evangelicals and the veneration of Israel, Schofield and Zionized Christianity. You know, Jeffrey says, I was raised a Catholic, even though I haven't been to Mass in years because I have problems with the church. Okay, Don, fraternal correction attempt number 1. Don't let that stop you from going to Mass every Sunday. It's a holy day of obligation. I tell my children the exact same thing. That's not an excuse to not go to Mass. There's nothing you can do about the institutional human element of the church. But there is something you can do about your own salvation, and that is go to Mass. My advice. Free of charge. Don't cost nothing. He says that he was raised as a Catholic, which means that you were supposed to do good. And he says, I just thought that this was very well put. As a child, it was drummed in home to me, both at Mass and at home, to be good. And he says Catholic guilt is a very real but unfairly named thing. It is instead a Catholic conscience. That's exactly what it is. It is what Steve Cunningham named his channel. It's a sensus fidelium. It is the sense of the faith. And you should carry the sense of the faith around with you. As we say, hoc ad eternitatem. Or quid hoc ad eternitatem. How does what I'm doing right now look when viewed through the lens of eternity? I think that is a very Catholic and wonderful way to look at everything. And it might stop you from saying or doing certain things if you quid ad hoc eternitatem. It's a beautiful little phrase there from the Latin. I'm sure Maggie can get you the actual literal English translation, not my butchered version of it just now. Don Jeffries. It's only been within the last year or so that my eyes have been truly opened on this subject. I knew that Christian evangelicals, which is the kinder, gentler way of saying born-againers, were supporters of Israel. I understand that they place far greater importance on the book of Revelation than Catholics do. I also began hearing more references to the rapture, which was a totally foreign concept to me. If you look at the pages in the Bible that are supposed to support this, it is never directly said that 144,000 people will suddenly be assumed into heaven. Actually, the gospel reading for was it Saturday for All Saints for All Saints Day? That is a complete and total bastardization of the gospel reading that we had for All Saints Day, which was that St. John the Evangelist saw 144. Well, first of all, he saw 144,000. Then he saw 12,000 from several different tribes, and then he saw a number he couldn't number. Well, the church teaches that what St. John is seeing are saints. Those are the elect. In any event, I don't want to get into a theological argument over it because I'll mess it up, and then people will be sending me hate mail. And I'll get people that are holier and more Catholic than I going like, you should have. Well, that's why I dropped it. As a Catholic, the Virgin Mary is supposed to be the only human being ever assumed into heaven. Everything with the evangelical seems to revolve around the biblical Israel. And they consider the present corrupt Middle Eastern ministry as this divine land. They interpret biblical prophecy to mean that Jesus will return in a generation after Israel was restored. In the 1980s, the born-againers preached that since it was getting close to 40 years after the creation of Israel, the second coming was at hand. You know, I heard this as a boy when my mother apostatized and left the Catholic faith and became in John Jimenez's Rock Church in the Tidewater area in Virginia. Those of you that may be familiar with this will know what I'm talking about. I heard this, New Israel, that the second coming was coming because we had New Israel, because Israel had become a thing again. And then Jeffries says, now it is a biblical generation we're talking about, and this would mean the second coming will be occurring very shortly. Catholics were taught that no man will know the hour of Jesus' return, and that he will come like a thief in the night. The evangelicals have proven to be quite adept at picking and choosing which biblical verses to believe. By the way, that reminds me, for the All Souls Day readings, which you did not get yesterday because that solemnity can't fall on a Sunday. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I asked Father Garrett O'Brien, and Father O'Brien told me, well, if you want All Souls Day readings, you're going to have to come to Mass Monday, Mike. Because I asked him on Saturday which version, because there's 3 different Masses a priest can say on All Souls Day. And he said, well, I won't be saying any of them, actually, because the rubrics say I can't on a Sunday. So you'll have to come Monday. I find it very fascinating, though. If you look in your Father Lassant's Missal, you will find on the reading for November the 2nd, All Souls Day, a reading from the Book of Maccabees. And it's the most stunning version. There's a Denziger Brothers illustration, and then there is a reading from the Book of Maccabees. And the Book of Maccabees clearly is describing purgatory and the need to pray for all the holy souls. In any event, I thought that because Don Jeffries is one of the great independent journalists. He does great work. He has done great work. He's been on this show numerous times. I've talked to him. Maybe I should talk to him about this. But I think that what he's pointing out here is that evangelicals and veneration of Israel here, there is this warped view of what a Semite is and what it means to be an anti-Semite. And all these people running around, and I'm not going to defend Nick Fuentes, because I'm not going to defend broadcasters. He couldn't be in my Crusade Radio Guild. That's in our rule. You can't use language like that if you're a member of the guild. The guild will kick you out. You can't be in the guild. And so I'm not going to defend any of what I've heard him say. But I will, again, say that Tucker Carlson wants to interview Nick and he wants to use his airtime to do it. So be it. You know, Maggie, how did Tucker start his interview off? What was the first question he asked? What did he say? I think this is the interesting part that no one else is going to tell you.
Well, he didn't really ask anything. He just said, I don't really know a lot about your beliefs, but I wanted you to have a platform to where you could speak to many people about what your actual beliefs are. You can state them plainly, and we'll go from there.
So in other words, he goes, okay, well, they're all out to get you and saying that you're this and you're a white nationalist and, the usual RSTO and any racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, et cetera, et cetera. Here's your chance. What say you?
That's more than Nick Fuentes did to us.
What?
I said that's a common courtesy that Nick Fuentes didn't give to us or Bannon hasn't given to us. I think that's just a common courtesy.
Yeah, Steve Bannon has not reached out to me, even though I apparently am on the Bannon fatwa. A fatwa, Bannon fatwa has been issued that if you interview me and he finds out about it, then you'll never be on his show or on Real America's Voice any longer. Why have I been banned? No one will tell me. What is it that I did that got me banned? I'm pretty sure that there's a similar ban that was in effect on Fox after Judge Napolitano left. And maybe Judge Napolitano left because Judge Napolitano, imagine Judge Napolitano being on Fox News today. He couldn't be. There's no way he could have been during the Israeli destruction of Gaza. He would have lasted 2 days. He's too good of a man, and he's too good of a Catholic, because he would, you watch him on YouTube. Don't take my word for it. You can listen to Judge Knapp in his own words. But I think that that I am due because I have, I was given the opportunity. I could have torn Steve Bannon up one side and down the other for 27 days. In 2015, when I was informed that they were giving my morning show at SiriusXM to him. I didn't do that. So how come they won't talk to me? What is it that Mike has done that is so terrifying to these people? That has me apparently on all of these ban lists that you hear Magdalene talking about. Well, I tried to get you on this show, and I thought I was going to get you, and then they stopped calling me back. And that is because the ban and the blacklisting is real. and it's offensive. I haven't done anything to deserve it, and if I did, I would really like to know what it is. So if there is something that I actually need to apologize to someone for, if I scandalize someone publicly and need to make amends for it, it's actually a matter of sin that I need to atone for. So I would like to know, what is it that has enacted this ban? But no one will tell me. And then Don Jeffries goes on he even talks about the term. Don says the term Judeo-Christianity was created to completely Judaize the New Testament, which is why when someone says Judeo-Christianity, in my mentoring certain air talents, I've told them, stop saying that. Don't say that. There's no such thing. There's Christianity. There is no Judeo-Christianity. There's Christianity. Christ came. The Old Testament came to an end. The New Testament was made real. John 1 through John chapter 1 through 19, that you hear at the end of every low mass. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we saw his glory. And our Lord even tells us, you will go forth to teach all men of all nations all that I have taught you. He didn't segregate. He didn't specify. Go forth to teach all men that look like you, all things that I have taught you because you look like me, meaning Jewish. And then he has an interesting piece from Don Jeffries. Maybe I will invite John to see if he wants to be on tomorrow's program. Maybe we haven't talked to him in a while. I know. He concludes, I don't think that those who are called Jews today are the biblical Israelites. If they are, then the ones who run the Israeli government don't act very much like a people who were chosen by a just and loving God. Bulldozing homes, ? One of which was blocked by an American citizen, Rachel Corrie, who was bulldozed to death in the process. Our government, as if it was being run by President Franklin Graham, uttered not a peep of protest at this. But now, all of a sudden, we're to be outraged by the killing of Christians in Nigeria. And we are outraged by it. Well, we are outraged by the killing of Christians in Lebanon, the killing of Christians in Syria, which is still going on, the destabilizing these countries in the Mideast. Why is it always the Christians who take the fall for the neocons and their wars? Because they're not caring. They don't care about you. In any event, it's I Protest by Donald Jeffries is his column on Substack. Read it. Let's play some digital media files here. Let's see, Maggie. I'll start at the top. Play number 1. Well, you know what? He's actually on the subject here. Play number 2. Okay, so Nora O'Donnell goes, all right, you're trying to be the peace president. Why are you still supporting Netanyahu? It's a good question.
He's fine. He's fine. Look, he's a wartime prime minister. I worked very well with him. Yeah, I mean, I had to push him a little bit one way or the other. I think I did a great job in pushing him. He's a very talented guy. He's a guy that has never been pushed before, actually. That's the kind of person you needed in Israel at the time. It was very important. I don't think they treat him very well. He's under trial for some things that I don't think they treat him very well. I think it should, we'll be involved in that to help him out a little bit because I think it's very unfair. I did. I pushed him. I didn't like certain things that he did, and you saw what I did about that. I also stopped, we knocked the hell out of Iran, and then it was time to stop, and we stopped.
But they just started it up again. You must understand that the Likudists cannot have peace. The world has surrounded them. Without Trump, they're all cooked. And I just think that this is a horrible blind spot on his part. Is it willful? I'll let you be the judge of that. I tried to look at the entirety of what someone like President Trump does, and I just say, okay, well, he's wrong on that, so he's got to be wrong about everything. But he has to be denounced on this. You know, he hears us loud and clear when he starts rambling on endlessly about IVF, and then he gets an earful from, I suspect, good Catholics that are in that administration and around him, who may tell him, Mr. President, you like us telling you what we actually think about things? Well, here's what we think. Why does no one have his ear when it comes to this? And when it comes to the Israeli never-ending destruction of Gaza and all of Palestine. It just doesn't make any sense. You continue to pray that this is brought to an end. Because without the cover of the United States, none of what's happening in Israel and in the Holy Land, in that area, it's all going to change. We are the ones that are keeping that instability in place. He says we knocked the hell out of the Persians. Well, what happened? What's the aftermath of that? All right, here. Talk about the all of this crap is about the you know what? We don't have, yeah, we do. Here, this is interesting. Play number 11. Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston. Now listen to this. By the way, we're breaking records in the chat room. No donations so far. You know, what is this? You know what? I'm going to play Hillary Duff music for the rest of this show. I'm just going to I'm checking out. If I don't see a donation in the next 3 minutes, by the time this soundbite's over, I'm going to Hillary Duff, and we're done for the day. CrusadeChannel.com/donate.
So we are all here. We're here to share information on resources for our residents at a time of intense and entirely preventable need. The President of the United States is using hunger as a political tool. And with SNAP benefits set to expire tomorrow, Donald Trump's lawyers came to Boston yesterday to block $5 billion in emergency food aid. We are eagerly awaiting what might happen in the courts and hope that the law will be upheld. But in the meantime, we are preparing for every scenario.
Now listen to this.
I'm standing here with leaders from the city of Boston, but as you just heard, from all across the region, to share information about what each of our communities is doing to step in and prepare at this time. In Boston, we know that it's 140,000 Boston residents who could lose vital food benefits starting Saturday. Benefits that also contribute $30 million per month to our small businesses and grocery stores. And so we are gathered here from across the region because we will never back down from fulfilling the promise of the America our cities have fought to create. In our city, food isn't a bargaining chip, it's a human right. And even before this current SNAP crisis, too many residents were already struggling to afford the essentials.
Gee, I wonder how that happened.
So today, we are announcing a new partnership to provide some relief for impacted residents and a citywide outreach effort to ensure all of our residents have every possible resource to afford food and basic necessities. First, I'm so grateful that the Boston Foundation has taken the lead in joining with the City of Boston to launch a fund for emergency supports to help impacted residents pay for groceries and other basic needs.
That's all you don't need to hear any more. So what exactly is the problem? So you had to do your job in your city and feed your people. Good job. Here in Louisiana, Governor Landry found the money to make the SNAP program funded, and so that people weren't going to go without food. That's how it ought to be. End the damn thing. Now, you keep seeing this playing out, that people and localities and states are finding a way to fund or to feed the poor and the indigent and what have you, and those that don't have, and this, that, and the other. If they can find a way this week then they can find a way to do it from now until the end of time. So, why don't you just end the program? Send it back to the States, make it a terrible memory hold the darn thing, and be done with it. Even in formerly Catholic, now apostate Boston, there are enough good people around to see to it that 140,000 Bostonians don't have to starve to death.
I need something to listen to challenge my faith and tickle my not-so-nice funny bone.
Well, you won't hear anything about Mondays coming or cheeseburgers in paradise, but you will hear the most brutally honest Catholic-inspired commentary on Parrot Talk. Weekdays.
Oh, this boats, beaches, bars, and ballads fan sees what you did there.
Weekdays at 2 Central on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on CrusadeChannel.com. Live talking podcast radio.
The way it should be.
Hello, Crusaders. I'm Janet Huxley at the Crusade Channel News Desk with your Crusade Crucials for Monday, November 3rd, 2025. This report is brought to you by Cookin' with the KingDude Seasoning Trilogy. There's your favorite beast and butt rub, Acadiana steak seasoning, and the new Chicken Mamu, lemon pepper and herb seasoning. Available for one low price at shop.mikechurch.com. In the market report, the Dow closed up 0.09%, the S&P 0.26%, NASDAQ was up 0.61%. In National Day calendar news, it's Job Action Day. It's also another job day. It's National Housewives Day. It's National Broadcast Traffic Professionals Day, honoring those in radio and television traffic departments. The first commercial broadcast took place on KDKA Radio out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on November 2nd, 1920. It's also National Sandwich Day, and the sandwich is believed to be the namesake of John Montagu, 4th Earl of Sandwich, following the claim that he was the inventor of the sandwich. Bread and meat sustained the Lord's sandwich at the gambling table. It was said he was a very conversant gambler and did not take the time to have a meal during his long hours playing at the card table. Our quote of the day, stay quiet with God, do not spend your time in useless chatter, St. Charles Borromeo. And our saint of the day is St. Martin de Porres, who called himself a poor slave. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
Okay, please enter the 9-digit 2-step authorization code we just emailed you. Jeez. What do you mean, prove I'm human? Okay, that's a car. That's a car. That's a car. Those are not cars. Please try again. Oh my gosh. I'll show you. Try again, stupid piece of AI mother. Here, try this.
Jim, what are you doing? Good grief, man. This isn't Office Space the movie. What are you trying to do?
I just wanted to send the KingDude a donation through the stupid computer.
Like Trump, the KingDude makes everything better, including donating, which you can now do by mail.
Mail? They still have that?
Of course they do, and the KingDude's keeping the ponies running on time and in business. Just snail mail your donation to P.O. Box 400, Madisonville, Louisiana, 70447.
Ha! And you can't. You're such a boomer. Me this time. And wait a minute. I know they're around here somewhere. There! Ha-ha!
Dude, those are airmail stamps from the movie Airplane. Surely you have...
Of course I do. And don't call me Shirley. The Crusade Radio Guild is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation, so your donations are tax deductible. Donate today, the Crusade Radio Guild, P.O. Box 400, Madisonville, Louisiana, 70447. On August 4th, the Crusade Channel will launch Crusade Channel 4.0, and you'll see why. What in the world?
Sorry, I was hanging up the new Mike Church 4.0 sign. 4.0? When did they even have a 3.0? Am I missing something here?
Buckle up, Speed Demon, because you'll soon discover why Crusade Channel 4.0 roars like the muscle car of media. Roaming past the competition with zero emissions of boredom exclusively on CrusadeChannel.com.
If women living near rivers and taking a pill turns the frickin' frogs gay, imagine what happens to men on the same river who don't listen to Mike Church.
riding like the wind over the lackadaisio and stupid definitions of 2025 conservatism. The Mike Church Show is on here on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and podcast radio the way it should be. Next Tuesday will be our 10th anniversary extravaganza show. And we need to make it the next Tuesday, so make your donations at crusadechannel.com/donate. Thanks to all of you who have done so in the last segment to prevent the onslaught of Hillary Duff terrible music. Speaking of, whatever happened to her? She married some NHL player, didn't she? Popped out an army of kids, I want to say. In any event, I want to address, because people keep asking this question here, and I thought that I had answered this at least a half a dozen times in the last month. And the question and the charge is, instead of complaining about Bannon, why don't you talk to him about it? Why haven't you reached out to him instead of loud-mouthing and just droning on endlessly and bashing the guy? Okay, so I guess you don't know the story. So at Turning Point USA, America Fest last December, it was me and him on a radio media row at about 5:30 a.m. Friday morning. He didn't have any handlers. He didn't have any guards. He was just sitting there on his phone doing whatever he was doing. I was walking to where the Crusade Channel booth was, and I saw him, and at first I walked past and went, you know what? No, I'm going to go ask him. So I said, hey, I introduced myself, and he pretended like he didn't know who I was. Come on, dude. And by the way, just a little history here. Beginning in the spring of 2011, Sirius XM Patriot Channel stopped letting me choose the fill-in host. Because I used to pick Tom Woods or Kevin Gutzman or Jack Hunter, or people that we were doing a lot of appearances with and interviewing and were part of the show. So guess who they chose to fill in for me? Bannon. And I would get after every time, and I would say, "Don't you send me an email about the filling guy? I didn't pick him, and it was Bannon." And so the idea that he didn't know who he was filling in, he didn't know who I was as I walked across the little floor at TPUSA to introduce myself and to shake his hand, and I said, for those of you that don't know the story, I said, Steve, look, man, I don't know what has transpired betwixt us, but whatever it is that I have done that has caused you to put me on this blacklist and is causing me to lose these interviews with people that I want to interview, whatever it is, just tell me what it is, and I'll apologize. But can we do that now and just kind of bury the hatchet and start over again? And he looked at me and goes, Mike, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I went, okay, well, my Magdalene Rose is telling me, and he goes, I have no knowledge. I don't know what you're talking about, buddy. He goes, you are one of the most important Catholic voices we have in broadcasting. Now, I'm telling you, you're going to have to take my word for it. That's what Bannon told me. Important Catholic voices in broadcasting. Why would I try and squash you? So I said, oh, okay. Well, whatever the case is, I'd appreciate it, if we could just be buddies or be friends, and let's just pretend like whatever I did, I'm sorry, and can we start over? And he goes, sure. Next morning, I saw him, same situation. So I went and said, hey, Steve, I didn't get a card. Here's mine. And I handed it. He goes, give it to my daughter, Maureen. And I said, I didn't get a picture. Can I get a picture? And he goes, absolutely. I walked up on the RAV stage right there, handed my phone to Maureen, his daughter, and she took a couple of pictures. I had the pictures. And I thought that the war was over. And I thought that we were not going to have to endure this suppression from Bannon again, from Steve. And then lo and behold, Magdalene tells me that this is now ongoing and it's worse than it ever has been. Now, let me just tell you, for those of you who are telling me that I need to reach out to him, I've tried. Maggie, you can bear witness to this. Josh K., you could probably bear witness to this. Matty P., you probably saw this. I went over on the Friday of TPUSA Student Action Summit, and he was in a break. There was no broadcast going on. He was standing there, and he didn't have his headphones or anything on. And I walked over, and I stood there, and I waited for him to see me, and then I waved, and he kind of looked at me like, who are you? And I said, Steve, Mike Church, remember? And he just kind of like, no. And I said, man, I never got anything from Maureen about the interview. Hope we can still do it. And he just kind of looked at me, and I said, okay. And I could tell, I'm like, he is completely and totally dissing me. I mean, he was literally 8 feet away. A friend, a colleague, a comrade would have walked down the 4 steps and to the ropes, to the stanchions and the ropes, and shaking my hand and said, hey, Meg, how you doing, buddy? Instead, I got no. And then I said, well, is your daughter going to be here this weekend by any chance? He goes, I don't know, maybe. And then turned away. So I don't want to hear this. This is all you. No, it's not. No, it's not. So people that are asking me, you need to I don't know why you people lionize this guy to begin with. You know, if he doesn't take the Mike Church show and SiriusXM doesn't inethically give it to him, he doesn't have a national audience. He couldn't build one on his own, and they gave him a weekly show on Breitbart on the SiriusXM Patriot channel. So, how did he become the most powerful man in politics? Remember, Time Magazine, February 2017 cover. There's Bannon. How did he get on the cover? Me. He took my radio show and my audience that I spent 13 years building and used it to get to Trump and say, hey, I'm on this satellite radio thing. You should come on. That's how they made buddies. So I don't want to hear that this is on Mike's side of the fence here to mend. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything other than what I have been doing here all day, today, and for the last 15 years. So why don't all of you Bannonites, why don't you tell him that he should reach out to me? And the idea somehow that I'm in a broadcasting class that's below his, are you kidding me? Again, Steve got on radio by filling in for me when I took vacation days. So that is the story. That's how it happened. So if anyone tells you anything else, I am telling you that is 100% certifiable truth. Yeah, but no. There's no yeah, but to that. That's just the fact. That's how it happened. I don't think if you were to tell him and someone were to have a conversation, it's very simple. Mike Church says that he would very much like to have another conversation with you about his standing in your orbit and why you think or are doing certain things, or your people are doing certain things that are impending or impeding the progress of the Crusade channel. Now, I don't think that we need all of these people. And all of these people to be interviewed. I could do this show for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. I don't need any interviews. I don't have to have them. I enjoy doing them, but I don't have to have them. And I don't think you care one way or the other. That reminds me. Let me read you a letter from a listener who sent this, and I won't name them because they don't want to be named, so I'm not going to name them. I'm just going to have to take. And let's see here. Where did I put it at? All right. Okay. So the letter writer wrote this actually to my sister because my sister Melissa had reached out to this person about their membership, and then they were trying to get a hold of me, and this is what they wrote. First of all, thank you again for your patience about 5 weeks ago in helping me to subscribe to the Crusade channel at a heavily discounted rate. I am so glad that you reached out and emailed me an invitation to resubscribe. It seems silly now, but now I want you people to listen to this. I canceled my subscription in August 2022 when I was offended by two chatters going back and forth about what a ridiculous comment I had just made in the chat room. I thought they were deliberately misquoting me and having fun at my expense. Also, since Shannon was no longer there to moderate the discussion, I thought the crude language was creeping into the chat room more and more, which is why we need a moderator like Shannon back. These recent weeks have served to remind me of how much I valued the Mike Church Show during the months after discovering it in April of 2020, when the whole world seemed to have embraced insanity and tyranny with gusto and was in the tight grip of COVID hysteria. There were some mornings when I found it hard to get out of bed, knowing that my horizon had been greatly circumscribed by all the lockdowns, church closings, censorship, tyranny, etc. In salutary ways, hearing Mike in the morning reaffirm what I believed and educated me further about the mind control helped me to peer through the miasma, so to speak, and glimpse a return to a saner society on the other side. 5 years later, our society is marginally saner, yet worse in some ways. That is why I took up my old habit. I found that that is why I took up my old habit. I found that hearing Mike's perspective on developments in the church and state is as important to me now as it was in 2020. I felt the need to write you after listening to Mike's show on October the 29th and 30th, in which he expressed frustration. With Catholic influencers and commentators and the shabby treatment he has received when trying to book interviews with them. That must be so disheartening and enervating, given Mike's long and distinguished broadcast career. You would think, wouldn't you? Some of the so-called VIPs or VIPs in media that he cited, well, it's a mystery to me why they have such big followings in the first place, much less preserve such exalted opinion of themselves. I suspect that they had hard-charging promoters and expensive public relations firms manufacturing much of the original hype, and then their followers and fame took on lives of their own. Many people will sell their souls for so little, and the masses are happy to follow whoever is the latest thing, aren't they? The genuine article, the real deal, is easily overlooked if it has been around for a long time. I hope the show's upcoming 10th anniversary is a real boost to all of you, and that you will look back with great pride on your perseverance and achievements of the past 10 years. Congratulations on reaching the milestone, and thank you for inviting me back to the Crusade channel in time so that I experienced the celebration too. God bless you in your important work, and please don't worry about the pygmies out there. Signed, Anonymous. Well, let me say to you, Anonymous, thank you. We don't hear that ever. So rarely. So when you wonder why, because I wrote her back and I thanked her profusely, when you wonder why I so profusely thanked you for that you were like, dude, I was just, throwing some props your way. No big deal. It's because we don't hear it. And it does go without appreciation in most times. And as we have said, it's a very difficult thing. It's but this is God's will. I'm just carrying it out. So if obscurity is God's will, then so be it. That's fine. We're not obscure for you people that are listening right now. But it is great to hear, and thank you very much for taking the time, because it takes time to write a long letter like that, and to write it with such panache, if you will. So it is greatly appreciated. Are you showing off buckshot on Halloween while I'm talking about it? That was before. Oh, okay. All right. So, 10 years here on the Crusade Channel. 34 years in total. Some of you even have these things called dude numbers. It was a thing. We're happy to be here every day, and you may hear some of the frustration, because it is frustrating. It's very frustrating to know that in broadcasting terms, there are people that couldn't tie my shoelaces, but yet have millions of your peers literally throwing money hand over fist at them, and every other emolument that you can imagine. The thing that I treasure and count the most are the reversion and conversion stories that I've heard, which were in the dozens upon dozens several years back. So that is what is important. Remember, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things and his justice will be added unto you. We also heard on All Saints Day, we got the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount, and the Beatitudes, of how you become a saint. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are the poor of heart, and how you become a saint. These are the things that matter. Your eternal salvation, and your destiny, and the economy of salvation is important to us. So we choose to not do certain things. We can curse if we want to. Somebody told me earlier that a friend of mine said, Mike, maybe Megyn Kelly and others, because he goes, that Megyn Kelly is a big F-bomb dropper. She curses bad. And I'm like, do you kiss you know what they used to say? Do you kiss your daddy with that mouth? That people seem to like that. And we'll give you extra clicks and extra lights and throw extra money your way if you'll just drop a cursory F-bomb every now and then. Why? But it's a lot harder to do it without the language, because it's a crutch. By the way, we don't have the audio, but I saw a clip of Joe Rogan interviewing Elon Musk on Friday. I bet Joe Rogan must be feeling like unappreciated these days, around the Joe Rogan show, because at one point in time, Joe Rogan was the most listened to podcast. Everyone was talking about the Joe Rogan podcast. And Joe had Elon on the other day, and he said to Elon, he goes, so, what's life like, after Doge? And Elon says, well, this is something I think that is very misunderstood by many people. Doge is not going away. My role in Doge has not sort of gone away. I still do things, just not as publicly as but Doge is still there. He told Rogan he's still doing Doge. Now, I heard it. He said, I'm still doing Doge, and Doge is still a thing. That was an interesting part of that conversation. Magdalene, would you like to hear and comment on Gavin Newsom or J.B. Pritzker?
Gavin Newsom.
All right, here we go. And the answer is, it's number 13. Well, I caught Maggie by surprise with her 15,000 tabs that she has open in that browser. And yes, Gavin Newsom for 1,000, Magdalene. Here's your clue.
You have been one of the most outspoken Democratic voices against President Trump. And part of your tactic is to imitate some of what we see online from President Trump. So you mimic his all-cap posts, you send out similar memes. Do you run the risk of normalizing that behavior?
Quite the contrary. The whole expression was to not allow it to be normalized. It was becoming normalized. All this, the normalization of deviancy across the spectrum of issues, but his communication, he's dressing up as the Pope, as Superman. Hold on, he's putting his face on Mount Rushmore. He's saying, thank you. It's madness. And so I put a mirror up.
Dude, he gaslit
madness.
you so bad. Magdalene, he trolled him. Trump has trolled this man so badly. What say you?
I think that's true, and I think Trump also knows when somebody has no real identity and they're just trying to branch off of him. He's seen that in Republicans. I think Gavin Newsom, one of the biggest problems for Gavin Newsom is that he doesn't just let himself be a pretty rich boy. Like, he tries to create the struggle. There is no struggle. Just be the pretty rich boy.
But he's not a pretty rich boy. Remember, he was putting mac and cheese on the Wonder Bread sandwiches. Remember?
Yeah. Yes, and he's not that. He is a pretty rich boy. Like, he had birthday parties like they have in The Great Gatsby. Just accept it. Like, America doesn't want struggle. Donald Trump has never pretended to be like a struggling person. He's like, no, I love money. I want more money. That's why he's president.
All right, let's do another one. What say you? All right, Maggie, can you play 16 now? This is Mark Levin.
And I just want the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West crowd to understand something. You're going to have to come through me and millions of people just like me, and you're not going to make it. You think your stupid little podcast, or your stupid little subscription program, or your little TV show, or maybe you have a little radio show, is going to change the world like hell it is, not if I and everybody else have something to say about it.
Yeah, who is he talking about? Who has a radio show? Who is he talking about?
Well, I think I saw that full clip from Mark Levin, and one of the things I will say is Mark Levin's righteous anger is not even getting people to tune in anymore. Do you remember when Hannity used to have him on, and he'd have Mark Levin do like the readout of everyone who was annoying him or everyone who was angering him? It used to go viral a lot. Nobody is tuning in to Mark Levin's show. Because Mark Levin is increasingly looking like somebody who's either bought and paid for or just really out of touch.
Well, he's extraordinarily bought and paid for and extraordinarily out of touch. There's only one faction in the U.S. government and one thing that the U.S. government is supposed to do, and that is to make Israel great again. The actual country of Israel and the Likud party. And this is something else that people, you need to be careful how you say this. They're going to have a hard time calling you an anti-Semite when you say, oh, I love Israel and Israelis. Well, I just don't like the Likud party and the Likudists. So when you make the distinction, most people won't even know what you're talking about because they're ill-educated and they just don't want to know. But to oppose Netanyahu and the Likudist is not to oppose Israel. And this is the one thing that we can all say and we can all do, that we are not anti-Israel. We're not anti-Israelis. We're not anti-Jews. We're anti-some Jews and some Israelis. So that's how you say it. You know, they've gotten really good at framing this anti-Semite charge. That all it has to do is be leveled at someone, and then that makes it so, without actually having to prove or being able to prove who it is as an anti-Semite and why they are an anti-Semite. Do you think someone like Levin could even define what anti-Semitism actually is?
Not what it actually is. He can define what he thinks it is, which is very wide-reaching. The thing about Mark Levin is that he was one of the original never-Trumpers, and people sort of forget that. But he was against Trump in the very beginning. He was pro-Jeb Bush, and then he was pro-Ted Cruz. So he has had an evolution to become someone in the Republican Party anyone is listening to. And I think Levin, the one thing he did understand was he read the room early on in 2015. He was like, I don't want to be a Joe Walsh. I don't want to have no influence. So I'm ultimately going to back Trump. That's the only reason anyone's still listening to him. That and that Hannity orchestrated very proudly him getting the show on Fox. So if you're upset with Mark Levin, Hannity is often left out of these discussions. I don't know why. He's got this sort of mind warp where we just don't talk about him in the same way. But he's the architect of Mark Levin's influence.
Well, the Hannity orbit is smaller than I think that it ever has been. He certainly doesn't have any sway on radio any longer. His numbers on Fox are pretty much what they have been. You have the little old blue-haired old ladies that lock it in and just watch it all day long. All you got to do here, where people are going, how come I don't see you on Fox News? You need to be a youngin'. You need to be on Fox News with all these other. Look at the advertisers on Fox News, and you will quickly discover what the demographic of viewers is. 80-year-old people. 80-year-olds. 80-year-olds who need chair lifts to get up the stairs. That's a major advertiser for Fox News.
Yeah. And not only that, even when you look at their online stuff, so their Fox Nation platform, for example, which is supposed to be like their HBO Max, it's failed. And it's failed because they have their show hosts talking about the same things, but they expect young people to watch it because it's online. It's been an unmitigated failure. They pour millions of dollars into it every year. I think of it now as a passion project. And Hannity was one of the chief architects of that as well. When Jesse Waters is your go-to media guy, I think that should be a red flag.
Why isn't okay? They are trying to to raise the star, Will Cain. You and I talked about this, and I like Will. To me, Will Cain could be one of their stars, but he is being guided, and he is just. They're formatting him the same way they do Jesse. They're formatting them so that they sound like Sean. It's the same formula with the same rotating coterie of guests. The only one that's on that channel, that's on that network, that has an ounce of creativity, and I think that Jesse, if he were left to his own devices and he had to actually fend for himself, and he wasn't in the Fox orbit, might really actually be a really good broadcaster. He's pretty funny. Remember when he used to be Bill O'Reilly's street guy?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Jesse is actually a talent. They'll never allow him to be the talent that he could be. But the only one that is real, that to me, that has the kind of creative energy that would makes you stand out is Gutfeld, is Greg. And I think that Greg has his own audience there, and I don't think he needs them. I don't know when his contract is up, but I think Gutfeld could easily replace one of the D-bags on night TV, one of the Saturday Night Live, Seth Meyers, or any of those guys. I think Greg could actually be a real force in actual broadcast TV. Fox News is holding him back, in other words.
Well, and he's even alluded to that. And I think what's different for Greg in the last few years is him and his wife had sort of been, they were going to be fabulous people who had no children, and they were going to live a very cosmopolitan life. And then he said that his wife and he looked at each other one New Year's Eve and were like, oh, we're losers because we have no children. And they laughed about it. They're like, we got to have a bigger purpose in life. We got to do something. And now they have a daughter. And I think that after that, he began to be much more vocal as well about what they were doing to President Trump, because he had a child, his wife had a child. There's a new focus for him. And since then, he's talked about some of the problems he's had at Fox and the hurdles there. And he was introduced to Fox originally by Andrew Breitbart, who flew out to London to meet him, who was like, this guy's really great. We don't have a comedic mind like this in the Republican orbit. And he helped launch him. And so if you look at the people that are still doing great, a lot of them come from Andrew Breitbart, not Breitbart News, but Andrew Breitbart personally picking them. So if you're a Greg Gutfeld now, and you have all this capital and you are outranking Jimmy Kimmel, and also 2 main late night hosts are out, you know that there's offers. I just don't want him to do the thing Megyn Kelly did, where she left Fox News and it was a mess and she was like accused of blackface. It took her about 5 years to reboot to where she is. She's successful now, but there was a time where it wasn't looking great.
Well, she was awful. that was a horrible move. Something that NBC News, of course, what it took 3 months. 3 months and she was gone. You know, something else interesting you said about Andy Breitbart. You know, I was the first guy to do radio interviews with Andy, and because people were telling me, man, Mike, you got to talk to this Andy Breitbart guy, and I'm like, okay. And one of the people that was telling me this, and he's still kind of he's a comedy writer, and he's still writing comedy. Is my old friend Evan Sayet. And Evan was saying, Mike, you will love Andy Breitbart. I got to hook you and Breitbart up. So it was Evan Sayet who made the connection. Do you know who Evan Sayet writes jokes for?
No.
Trump. He's President Trump's joke writer. When Trump was at the Al Smith dinner and he was reading those jokes, those were Evan's jokes. So I got Evan's phone number. We could call Evan Sayet. Matter of fact, every time I see him, he gets mad at me. How come we're not buddies on? Why don't you have me back on your show anymore? So Evan was one of those talents that was in Andy Breitbart's orbit because he lived in L.A. and he was working the nightclub comedy scene. And Andy Breitbart was a big fan of comedy. And Andy knew Evan, and Evan knew Andy, and they both discovered that they were kind of conservative. So it's an interesting thing that you mentioned Breitbart, and that's kind of how Gutfeld, that Greg kind of got discovered there. And again, I can tell you that Fox News they know what they have, and that Gutfeld doesn't need them. The question is, does Greg want to trust someone outside of Rupert and his son with his career? Because if you make that move and you crack the wrong joke for against the wrong leftard or wrong communist, you know, it's to swim in those waters. I mean, that is a security blanket being with the Murdochs. You leave that orbit and you go to CBS or NBC, and although you and I both agree, and I'm sure many of our listeners do, that Greg would be sensational at late night TV. He'd be really good. Would they allow him to survive? Would he have to become a leftard in his comedy? Yeah. And to me, that's the danger, which again, okay, if you really want to do this and you want to do it right, well then go take the road that Tucker has taken. Tucker's probably so glad that he doesn't have to answer to the Murdochs anymore. And that, dude, if I want to interview Nick Fuentes, I'm going to interview Nick Fuentes, and there's nothing you could do about it. The people that are throwing stones and are hating on Tucker for Fuentes and for Roy Cooper interviews and all that don't understand or just don't grasp that he is being independent. This is what independent journalism looks like, right? Yeah. This is what independent media looks like. You don't wave your hand up in the air and sample the wind to see who you want to interview. You do interviews of people you think are provocative and you think are going to get reaction. Did the Nick Fuentes interview get reaction, Magdalene?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so that's why people are, yeah, but what do you say about the Fuentes interview? The content of what Nick has said and is saying is abominable. I'm not going to make and there's no room for that. As I said earlier, I don't know if you were if Bennett was allowing you to hear earlier. Nick Fuentes is a Catholic. He could not be a member of my Crusade Radio Guild with that mouth of his. Yeah. I wouldn't let him. I would say I wouldn't accept your application in the Crusade Radio Guild. There is saying something about that. Why did we found the guild? So that people like Nick would have guidelines. You have to have a higher ethical standard if you're going to pass yourself off as the new Catholic voice of the right. And I think that this is, something that responsible Catholics have to rise to the fore. You don't have to denounce him. You just have to say that, you know what, I made 34 years without ever dropping a public F-bomb. you
Yeah.
can make it too.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, and that's been something that I haven't seen Catholic leaders do. So this sort of tolerating of him, I completely understand, like on an interpolitical level, how he got where he is. In the young conservative world, I get it. I don't necessarily understand why there's been no pushback amongst people who are like the Catholic media figures, like you're talking about, to say, don't drape yourself in traditional Catholicism as an excuse for how you're acting. Because it's like he says things that then he says, well, this is just a Catholic belief on it. And I know it isn't. And if I know it isn't, much more scholarly people than I know it isn't as well. And there hasn't been a real rebuttal. And that was something that Kirk couldn't understand that in the same way because he wasn't in that traditional Catholic world. But Fuentes could make people have a very bad understanding of what traditional young Catholics are if we're not careful.
Well, traditional young Catholics don't go after other traditional young Catholics for their choice of wives.
Yeah.
Publicly.
Yeah. Yeah.
This screed that he did against J.D. Vance is just, this is not acceptable. I hope people are telling him privately, bro, you need to back off. You got a problem with J.D. and his wife. That's not something that you air. And you certainly don't present yourself as a Catholic voice. We don't talk like that about we don't talk like that about other people, or we shouldn't talk like that about other people, unless the scandal is already public because they're living a scandalous life. That's different. JD is not living a scandalous life. This is why I go to great lengths to defend JD when I say you need to stop throwing your stones at his glass house from your glass house because Usha is not a Catholic. She hasn't converted yet. There are many, many people that came to the faith, men that came to the faith, and their wives didn't. Many of their wives did, ultimately. Chesterton's wife, Sir Alec Guinness's wife.
How many saints do we have that married a non-Catholic and prayed them into
Maggie, say what you just said.
I said, and how many saints do we now currently have that married a non-Catholic and prayed them into being Catholic, and a good Catholic at that?
What about one of the stories? What about the woman who, and I want to say that she's a saint now, the woman who married the Red Sea pedestrian guy, and he said, I'm never going to become a Catholic. I don't care what you do, but you can be one. And they were married. Oh, it's Mary. What's her name? She got sick. And ultimately, he had to take care of her. All right? This is like around 1900 or so. So she is on her deathbed. She's dying. And she tells him, what's your dying wish? She tells him, my dying wish, and here's what's going to happen. When I die, you are going to convert to the faith, you're going to become a Catholic, and you're going to become a Catholic priest. And, of course, he laughs. That's it, Felix Lesueur. Thank you, Todd. And she dies, Magdalene. Okay, she dies as a Catholic. You imagine the people that would, if she was on talk radio in 1900, the people, what people would have said if Nick Fuentes had been around about her, because her husband was a bona fide Darwinian atheist who was very loud in public and saying that he was such. But ultimately, after she dies, he converts to the faith. He actually goes to a monastery. I believe he's a Dominican. He also ultimately becomes either a brother or a priest, and he dies a very saintly, holy man. It's a wonderful story. We have a sermon on Sermon Sunday about it. Felix Lesueur. How do you know that Usha Vance is not going to become a Catholic and become a great Catholic in the future? That's the prayer that you hold out. We had the theological virtue of hope. Theologically, people that we keep our eye focused on heaven, and if others and help others to keep it focused on heaven. So what he's saying about JD is just not acceptable.
No, it's not. And regardless of the religion as well, Fuentes has made it very clear he's also deeply upset with Vance being in the position of power he is because he has a wife who is not white. And this is, I've heard him say this. So this is not even discussing Hindu and Catholicism. Separate from all of that, he talks about how he finds it insulting that J.D. Vance, as vice president and a Republican frontrunner, has mixed-race children. And we often hear the left say, well, this is racism, that's racism. That is racism. That just is racism. And he talks about how insulting it is. He has called Vance a race traitor. I have seen him do that live on air. So when you deal with Fuentes, I think part of the problem here is that you can't sort of normalize him as much as people would like, because there's this other factor here. This isn't somebody who has right-wing views. And I think the problem for sort of like the neocons here is they're getting caught up on the Israel factor, as they always do, and they're getting caught up on the war factor. And they're not talking about the fact that Nick Fuentes thinks it's wrong that our vice president has children who are half Indian, regardless of race. And Fuentes said it wouldn't matter if they're Christian. They're still half brown. This is the statements that he's made. So there's no level of like approval that J.D. Vance can get for him, because his children will still be mixed race.
It's awful. It's awful. I've also seen and heard some of the things that he has said about women in general. To say that they sound misogynist is an understatement. And misogyny is not something that that Catholics ought to be practicing. Look, that also tells me, and I'll just say this for the Catholics in the audience out there, our Protestant evangelical brothers and sisters don't have a devotion to Our Lady, but it also tells me that he is not close to St. Joseph and he's not close to Our Lady. So when you are praying for someone like Nick, then you pray that they get close to the Holy Family, because people that are close to Our Lady don't talk like that. They don't say that. You don't say things like that, and you certainly don't say things like that about other women.
No, you don't, and that's something that he has pushed repeatedly.
All right. Communist Front Group plans mass occupation in D.C. starting November the 5th. Wants millions to surround the White House and drive Trump from office. Have you heard this?
I have.
So they're going to have a sit-in around the White House, and they're going to drive Trump from office by surrounding the White House and sitting outside of it.
Can you imagine if we said that? Like, can you imagine if we said we're going to drive a Democrat from office? We'd all be arrested.
Well, and then there was there's one more thing that politically, Maggie, can you pull the Obama soundbite up? Trump calling Obama a traitor. I think that this was Friday.
You look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they... Look, he's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents. And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill.
You've now accused the former president of the United States of treason. The penalty for treason is death, or one of the penalties for treason is death. And I think that Trump's patience with these people has about run out. But I don't know what he's going to do about it.
Well, his patience has run out, and why wouldn't it? But this has been the issue all along. Liberals, I think that Trump, when he took office this time, in many ways was too kind and too forgiving. Like, when he took office, based off of what he's been through in those 4 years, and like the two almost assassinations, he could have been a lot more vengeful. He could have called committees. He could have called in Democrat leaders from the Clintons to the Bidens to the Obamas and had them testify in front of Congress. He didn't really do any of that. The only people he has gone after through his AG have been like James Comey, James Clapper, like those people that are within the FBI intel community that a lot of Senate Republicans, especially Rand Paul, wanted answers from. But he has not sought revenge. And I know we're not supposed to seek revenge, but we should seek accountability. For example, with the Biden family and the complete lack of knowing who was running the country for 4 years, when you don't make people answer your questions, you get to a place of constantly being underestimated within politics.
And I believe that this is as a result of some documents, I think, that Tulsi Gabbard that were released last Thursday, I want to say. And then he said, there are going to be many more documents released. Look, did you see here is the NBC News poll. You and I have been talking about this. Apparently somebody, we're not the only ones. Has the Trump administration lived up to your expectations, or has it fallen short on these issues? No, I don't think that this poll is accurate, but I will share it with you anyway. So lived up is the question, or fallen short. The only question they get lived up to is border security and immigration, which is at 51%. I know that that's not accurate because the approval numbers on immigration are in the 60s, not in the 50s. But here are the three that I thought were interesting, because we have also discussed this here on the Mike Church Show. The economy, looking out for the middle class, inflation, and the cost of living, respectively, have lived up 34, 33, and 30%. If that poll were accurate, then the GOP would be in heap big wampum trouble coming up in the midterms. I don't think it's accurate, but I do think that the question, have they lived up to it, that there is a lot of improvement. And, like, for example, Friday or Saturday, we're not going to allow the Christian slaughter in Nigeria to continue. Worry about what's happening in the United States and less about what's happening across the globe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult thing we're in because Trump has focused so much internationally, and I understand why when it comes to the wars. I don't begrudge him attention to Ukraine and the Israel conflict. That makes sense to me. But there's been a lot of focus internationally, and we constantly hear that the sort of Republican Party's new focus is getting young men to the polls. I understand that, but you also have to get young women to the polls. And you have to get women in their 30s and 40s to the polls. And those women vote based off of economics. And yes, Republicans are a better deal in terms of economics. But if you look at what the priorities from congressional Republicans are, very little of it is about lowering costs. There's no focus. Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke about this, and I'm no super fan of hers, but she discussed how there was not really a focus on improving the ability to buy homes for young couples, that there's no focus on that whatsoever, despite her and other Republicans and sort of the more Freedom Caucus wing pressuring the Trump administration to take action on it. When you don't focus on anything in economics, and the main thing you talk about is whatever the sort of sorority or fraternity bro focus is, that causes an issue, and I think Trump's got a little led astray by that.
Yeah, the kitchen table works. And like I said this when we talked about it in the first hour, if you were to go back in the KingDude's Wayback Machine and you were to go back to Ronald Reagan's first year in office in November of 1981, it would be it'd be looking really bad for Reagan and the Republicans, if they were a majority in Congress, and they weren't, it would be looking really bad. By the time you get to the following August or so, the whole thing has turned around. The tax cuts have kicked in. The tariff trade policies have kicked in or for Reagan. Trump has repealed tens upon tens of thousands of pages of regulation. There's money coming into the Treasury as a result of the tariff. There are jobs and there are industries that are going to be repatriated. All this stuff is going to happen. It just hasn't happened yet. You have to. There's infrastructure that has to be built and returned. So I think a year from now it'll be a big, or 10 months from now it will be a vastly different scenario. But I also think that they can just focus almost exclusively on domestic events and would do a lot better than worrying about or focusing and talking about. Now look, I'm glad he says that Christians can't be murdered in Nigeria. There is a Muslim that's about to become mayor of Manhattan. You have Muslims running a city, Minneapolis, St. Paul, in Minnesota. I think there were threats to Christians here domestically.
Well, that's a very good point, and I had that thought as well when I saw that tweet about the Nigerian issue. We have a situation in New York that, mainly because of Curtis Sewa refusing to drop out, we are about to be in a situation where a devout Muslim socialist, self-avowed, is the mayor of New York City. And I just don't really feel like the Republican Party cares that much. I've cared for a while. I don't see how President Trump has not made this the biggest factor, happening right now. Curtis Sewa should have been offered an ambassadorship, in charge of a presidential library, whatever it took to get him out of that mayoral race, in charge of the RNC in New York. And that just has not been happening. And I don't understand why. And when Zohran Mamdani does insane things and stops sending police to certain calls in neighborhoods because they have Muslims in them, and he wants Muslim clerics to settle disputes between families, we know whose fault it is. It is the RNC's fault, and I think that's something that's becoming clearer and clearer.
Yeah, there's a guy at Federalist.com today, Mark Lucas. I fought a war against radical Islamists like the one New York is about to elect. Radical Islam has made its way into America. It's already here and it's spreading. America cannot be consumed by it. This is a problem. This is a big, real problem here. You got all sorts of problems across the world. You got a problem. You don't want to become Germany. You don't want to become Sweden. You don't want to become England. You don't want to become Ireland. You don't want young Muslim men of fighting age to invade your country and to be here present in numbers enough to where a generation or two of taqiyya makes them a loud, invisible minority anywhere. There will be no assimilations. What people must understand. I know Muslims that are assimilated, then they're not Muslims. They're not practicing their faith. They're just Muslims because you call them that, but they're not practicing it. Because if they are, you got a problem. And you just look at what's happening with the Somalis, the Muslim Somalis in Minnesota. They're now out loud and proud. They're in Dearbornistan, Michigan. They're ringing the prayer bell now. The imams are packed. The mosques are there. The other people are fleeing. Radical Islamic nutbags have a foothold in the United States. That's a problem. Sharia law and republicanism are incompatible. They do not go together.
No, they don't. And we've had a lot of warnings from Europe. If we think back, the sort of right-wing figures in Europe who fled many of those areas started talking in earnest about the level of Islamification that was happening in those countries in 2018. I remember watching those interviews. So we're approaching almost 10 years of that, give or take, of people at least being honest about it. So I don't really have any patience for Republicans who are like, oh, well, we'll talk about it next election. We'll talk about it next election. They have literal areas in England where you cannot walk around as a white British person or just as a woman not wearing a hijab in England. That's a problem, and we've had a lot of warning about it, and we've done nothing about it.
Yeah, and this guy says, this guy that wrote this piece for the Federalist is talking about the 1993 World Trade Center bombing that killed 6 people. It's undeniable. This was an Islamist that did this. So that's what, 32 years ago? 32 years ago. And the problem has grown exponentially. All right, Magdalene, thank you very much. Well, we have big races to cover tomorrow. The election in Virginia. By the way, why is Obama not endorsing the black woman in Virginia? I thought it was racist to not endorse black people who are running for public office.
Unless there is a white person who can give you endless speaking opportunities, then it is not racist.
Okay, just needed a clarification on that. All right, so the Virginia's race, the governor's race in Virginia does not look good. It will all come down to turnout and to whether or not the mail-in ballot fraud machine in New Jersey has actually been made illegal. As to whether or not Ciartarelli has a chance against Mikey or Mickey or whatever the hell her name is in New Jersey. I don't believe that Mamdani is going to get a majority, a plurality tomorrow. So I think there will be a runoff twixt Cuomo and Mondani. And it will be a battle literally for the soul of the Big Apple. So we'll talk more about it tomorrow. Magdalene, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Folks, that is going to do it for us here today. I want to thank you all for your donations and your prayers. Please continue to donate. CrusadeChannel.com/donate. Get your 10th anniversary Crusade Channel limited edition. The t-shirts are beautiful. Front left pocket print, beautiful big artist drawing of the 10th anniversary logo, and all the shows that have been on the Crusade Channel in the 10 years. I did the artwork. AI was not used. I actually used my skills as a commercial artist to do the artwork. You can also get it on a red cap work shirt, a button-down, twin-pocketed red cap work shirt. Please order your 10th anniversary gear today. I'm going to send an email out later today as a reminder and with all the links. But you can find it on the homepage at shop.mikechurch.com. That's shop.mikechurch.com. Keep it tuned here to the Crusade Channel. When news breaks out, we will break in, as we do here every day. Okay, that's my fourth try to try and get the proper sounder in for the close of the program, and I got it. See you tomorrow. God bless you. Merry keep you.
I'm going away, babe.